Chapter 56. The two of them chatted as though no one else was present, causing Gretchen's countenance to grow increasingly unhappy. She didn't expect that immortal drunken wine would actually help Qin Wentian. The third-ranked prodigy of the royal capital, immortal drunken wine, wasn't an existence that could be trifled with. I didn't expect to find a backer so quickly. Gretchen indifferently glanced at Qin Wentian. But, do you really think that I need a helper to deal with you? When Murin and Gretchen were in the Sky Harmony City, they had already investigated Qin Wentian thoroughly. At that time, Qin Wentian had displayed outstanding talent, condensing an astral soul from the third heavenly layer, and had even used some special methods to kill Yi Lang. Now that 3 months had passed, even if Qin Wentian's strength had improved a little, what could he do? As for the demonic ape that appeared in the Star River Association, Murin told her that it was a summoned astral war beast. It was highly possible that it was a life-saving talisman left behind by the ancestor of the Qin clan, the Wu King. What kind of talent can a clan that's on the verge of collapse nurture? Gretchen coldly laughed, as she turned and commanded, "Leave." Although Gretchen was arrogant, she wasn't so arrogant that she would directly make a move in the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Those beside Gretchen all laughed as they stared at Qin Wentian, with expressions of ridicule on their faces. What a reckless fool. Interesting. The surrounding spectators all had the attitude of watching a good show. Qin Wentian and the rest lifted their feet as they asked Francis, "Are all weaponsmiths so arrogant?" Powerful weaponsmiths all have an innate arrogance. Francis laughed. "I was just a first-level weaponsmith in the past, but you've seen me before." As he spoke, Francis looked at Qin Wentian with some embarrassment. Qin Wentian laughed. Indeed, when he first met Francis, this fellow was also extremely arrogant in front of him. After exiting the Divine Weapon Pavilion, Gretchen turned around and stared at Qin Wentian, as a cold light flashed in her eyes. Earlier, Qin Wentian had intentionally bid against her, causing her to suffer a great loss. Just this point alone was enough for Qin Wentian to pay with his life. She wants to kill. Fan Li's eyes narrowed. This woman wasn't simply arrogant. Her heart was extremely vicious as well. She actually wanted to kill him. Buzz. All of a sudden, Gretchen moved. Her movements were graceful and agile, as fast as lightning. A ray of sword light bloomed abruptly, revealing a chilling intent. The sword slashed directly at Qin Wentian's body. What a fast sword. The crowd was stunned. Gretchen wanted to kill Qin Wentian. A terrifying aura emanated from Qin Wentian's palm. After cultivating the 1,000-hand imprint for so long, it was time for him to put it into practice. With a stomp of his foot, the ground trembled. Qin Wentian's entire being seemed to be filled with explosive strength as he directly blasted out a palm strike. A terrifying palm imprint exuded a fearsome might as golden light radiated from it. This was none other than the first stance of the 1,000 Hands imprint, the adamantine imprint. Gretchen's sword condensed from astral energy directly exploded. She didn't even have the time to unleash the full might of her sword technique before she was completely suppressed. The 1,000 Hands imprint was known for its tyrannical attacks. Not only that, Qin Wentian's astral energy originated from the 5th heavenly layer, along with the tyrannical might of the Heavenly Hammer constellation. Even if he didn't use his divine yuan energy, the power of his attacks would still be extremely terrifying. Boom, boom. Qin Wentian stomped on the ground as he dashed towards Gretchen. Both his palms simultaneously blasted out as 2 terrifying imprints pressed downwards. Gretchen's countenance instantly paled. She immediately pulled out the origin sword she had just obtained, and at the same time, released her sword-type astral soul. Single slash sword light blossomed, forcefully shattering one of the adamantine imprints. However, the other palm imprint closed in on her, and she could only hurriedly raise her hands in response. A muffled boom rang out, and Gretchen felt as though her arms were about to shatter. At the same time, fresh blood seeped out from the corners of her mouth. Qin Wentian didn't give Gretchen any chance to retaliate. The roars of a dragon echoed out as an enraged dragon's arm directly snatched away the origin sword in Gretchen's hands. After which, a fist smashed into Gretchen's body, causing Gretchen to be flung through the air as she fell heavily onto the ground. The battle ended in an instant. The spectators were all dumbfounded as they watched the results of the battle. This fellow's attacks were too tyrannical. After seizing the initiative, he unleashed a torrent of attacks that directly destroyed Gretchen. Wang Chong and the rest dashed forward, only to see immortal drunken wine taking a step forward as a terrifying sword chi enveloped the entire space, causing Wang Chong and the rest to freeze in place. At the same time, Qin Wentian had already arrived in front of Gretchen. Standing there, he lowered his head and looked down at Gretchen, who was sitting on the ground. A faint smile could be seen on his face as he held the origin sword in his hands. As long as he pierced downwards, Gretchen would definitely die. I really don't understand what you have to be so proud of, Qin Wentian calmly stated. Traces of mockery could be seen in his eyes, piercing into Gretchen's heart. She had never suffered such humiliation before. But today, she was defeated by her opponent. She had nothing to say. The pain of being defeated, as well as this humiliation, was extremely painful. Immortal drunken wine, if something really happens to Gretchen, I'm afraid you won't be able to bear the consequences. Wang Chong coldly stared at immortal drunken wine, who was blocking his path, before shifting his gaze onto Qin Wentian. And you, take your sword away. Immortal drunken wine laughed. If I were you, I would immediately shut my mouth. If not, if he really killed Gretchen, things wouldn't be too good. Gretchen is a student of the Royal Academy and a second-level weaponsmith from the Star River Association. Wang Chong coldly stated. A month ago, he killed Orphan in front of Orkhan and many other elders of the Emperor Star Academy. If you continue to anger him, don't blame me for not warning you. Immortal drunken wine casually shrugged his shoulders. Qin Wentian from the Emperor Star Academy. The countenance of a student from the Royal Academy stiffened. Evidently, the news of Qin Wentian's deeds in the Emperor Star Academy had long been spread throughout the Royal Academy. It was only because a month had passed that Gretchen, who had just returned to the Academy, didn't know about it. He killed Orphan? Gretchen sat up, staring at her companion as she asked. Yes, in the Emperor Star Academy's ranking competition, in front of everyone on the arena. That person nodded his head, glancing at Qin Wentian as he continued. Not only that, his two astral souls originated from the third and fourth heavenly layers respectively. The Emperor Star Academy only confined him for a month. Gretchen's countenance turned strange as she stared at the smiling youth. In just a span of 3 months, he had already completed his transformation? Can I trouble you to pass this message to Murin that I will find him for that debt in the future? Scram now. Qin Wentian tossed the origin sword to the ground, as Gretchen stood up and left in a sorry state. Qin Wentian had actually entered the Emperor Star Academy and had such talent. This caused a huge impact to her heart. Qin Wentian didn't kill Gretchen. He was very clear of his current situation in the royal capital. The Yi clan and the O clan had no leeway to salvage the situation. Although he had already entered the Emperor Star Academy, he didn't think that he would be able to rest easy. On the contrary, there were many people who wanted him dead. Regardless of the Emperor Star Academy, the Divine Weapon Pavilion, or even Immortal Drunken Wine, this wasn't his own strength. Only when he was strong enough to contend against everything would he have the qualifications to do whatever he wanted. Qin Wentian shifted his gaze towards Immortal Drunken Wine, only to see Immortal Drunken Wine laughing. Care about being drunk? Care about being drunk. Qin Wentian smiled as he nodded his head. Where are we going? Wherever we go. You just have to pay the bill. Immortal Drunken Wine laughed. Qin Wentian shrugged his shoulders as he turned to Sheena and Fan Le. Fatty, what about the two of you? Hee. Fatty blinked his eyes as he laughed. How about this, Sheena? You go pick a divine weapon and put it on Boss tab. I will go out with Boss for a walk. This. Sheena stared at Qin Wentian in bewilderment. Francis, bring Sheena along. Just put it on my tab. Qin Wentian spoke to Francis as he rolled his eyes at Fatty. This damnable Fatty kept calling him boss every day. He would have to pay the price for it. Sheena, there's no need to be so polite with Boss. Fatty had a wretched smile on his face. He had personally witnessed the wealth of weaponsmiths. In the future, he would definitely extort more from them. Francis brought Sheena to the Divine Weapon Pavilion, while Qin Wentian and the other two headed in another direction. Fatty sized up Immortal Drunken Wine as he asked, ranked third among the 10 prodigies of the royal capital. You should be very strong, right? Not bad. Immortal Drunken Wine looked at Fatty with interest. If that's the case, after drinking, we will all be brothers. If I need your help in a fight, it shouldn't be a problem, right? Fatty's eyes lit up, while Qin Wentian rolled his eyes. This fellow's calculations were quite good. If he could invite Immortal Drunken Wine for a fight, killing Orkhan wouldn't be a problem at all. As long as you get drunk, there's no problem in fighting. Just don't make me kick an iron board. Immortal Drunken Wine laughed as he replied. Fatty's eyes lit up. Qin Wentian, when are you able to forge a second-level high-grade origin sword? Remember to give me one. Immortal Drunken Wine looked at Qin Wentian. No problem. Qin Wentian nodded his head. Immortal Drunken Wine had a carefree personality. He didn't mind asking him for a divine weapon. If it was an ordinary person, they would have definitely avoided it. Back at the Knights Association, Orkan, Murong Feng and the rest were gathered together. Orkan stared at Murong Feng as he spoke. Today, a battle took place outside the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Qin Wentian's cultivation has already broken through to the second level of arterial circulation. Not only that, Mustang should have imparted to him the Earth-grade innate technique, the Thousand Hands imprint. He has already mastered the first stance of the diamond imprint. Do you think he can threaten me? Murong Feng stared at Orkan. At the very least, we can't be too careless. Back then in the dark forest, I thought he would die, but in the end, the one who died was my younger brother. We can't let go of this opportunity. I will give you an Earth-grade innate technique for you to cultivate. Also, do you want to raise your Emperor's Star Jade Medallion to the 5th level? Murong Feng's eyes narrowed. With a 5th-grade Emperor's Star Jade Medallion, he would be able to enjoy even better cultivation resources. To him, this was undoubtedly a great temptation. However, he didn't have enough Yuan meteor stones. Of course. Murong Feng nodded. In a battle on the platform, it's hard to avoid situations where one cannot hold back. If Qin Wentian is crippled, I can guarantee that you will be able to reach the 5th level. A cold light flickered in Orkan's eyes. As long as he crippled Qin Wentian, the Emperor Star Academy would no longer nurture trash. Qin Wentian would die without a doubt. The Yi clan and O clan would be willing to provide the 300 Yuan meteor stones. Murong Feng's eyes narrowed. The Academy wanted him to take the risk. If he really crippled Qin Wentian, what would the Emperor Star Academy's attitude be? This is a fair battle. With us here, the Emperor Star Academy won't make things difficult for a genius for the sake of a crippled Qin Wentian. Orkan's eyes were as cold as ice. Upon hearing his words, Murong Feng's eyes flickered with a ruthless glint. Chapter 57. Qin Wentian and Fan Lo were escorted back to the Emperor Star Academy by Immortal Drunken Wine and Francis. Immortal Drunken Wine carried a wine gourd in his hands as he watched the two of them stagger into the academy, with a snow-white puppy following behind them. The corners of his mouth curled up in a slight smile. Don't lose the Yuan meteor stones on you, Francis mumbled. Immortal Drunken Wine knew that Qin Wentian was heading to the Divine Weapon Pavilion for the Yuan meteor stones. Hence, after drinking, he first sent Qin Wentian and Fan Le back to the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Francis then passed the Yuan meteor stones to Qin Wentian before sending them back to the Emperor Star Academy. Don't worry, he's not completely drunk. Immortal Drunken Wine laughed. These two fellows were extremely interesting, especially Fatty Fan Le. Even when he was drunk, he still kept on shouting, beautiful girls. Qin Wentian and Fan Le were indeed drunk. They were only 16 years of age, and although they had experienced many setbacks, their personalities were still hot-blooded. How could they not be able to control their alcohol tolerance when encountering someone like Immortal Drunken Wine? What kind of person was Immortal Drunken Wine? How could he possibly get drunk? Hence, the ones who were drunk were naturally Qin Wentian and Fan Le. Brother, didn't you say that Immortal Drunken Wine was also called the Wine Immortal? He obediently sent us back because he was afraid of us. Fatty laughed as he hugged Qin Wentian. Scram. Qin Wentian, who was still being hugged by Fatty, kicked him away. Damn Fatty, don't treat me like a beautiful girl. Brother, you win. I Fatty like you like men. So what? Fan Le grinned at Qin Wentian, causing goosebumps to appear all over Qin Wentian's body. He hurriedly distanced himself from Fatty. The students who were passing by heard Fatty's words all pursed their lips and laughed. One of the girls couldn't help but laugh out loud. Weren't these two famous freshmen? Why were they so drunk? And that Fatty, he actually liked men. What are you laughing at? Beautiful lady, do you want to have some fun with Brother Fatty? Fatty said to a beautiful female student beside him, reeking of alcohol. The female student screamed in fear and ran away. You damn Fatty, you're going to be famous, haha. Qin Wentian laughed out loud. Unfortunately, his drunken words were spot on. Fatty was indeed famous. The two of them staggered back to the dormitory and fell asleep. When they woke up the next day, Fatty shivered. He looked at Qin Wentian, who was standing beside him, and asked, "Did anything happen yesterday?" "No." Qin Wentian shook his head. "That's good. Why did I dream that I was talking nonsense?" Fatty scratched his head and stretched lazily as he walked towards the exit. At the side, someone glanced over and smiled at Fan Le. "Brother Fatty, you're awake." Fatty's expression flickered. Why were these fellows so enthusiastic today? They actually took the initiative to greet him. "Brother Fatty, look at the guys here. Which one do you like the most?" Another person teased. Fatty's face reddened. Could it be that his dream was real? "Bullshit, I like women, beautiful ladies." Fatty cursed. The other students all laughed, "We understand." Qin Wentian walked towards the crowd. He had decided to draw a line between him and Fatty. "Boss!" Fatty pitifully chased after Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian to feel a chill run down his spine. "Qin Wentian, Fan Le, there's a public lecture today, and the teacher is a beautiful guest elder. Do you guys want to join us?" Someone smiled at Qin Wentian and Fan Le. "Beautiful elder." Fatty's eyes instantly lit up. Of course we'll go. Let's go together then." The group of them laughed as they arrived at an empty space. There were many bluestone praying mats on this empty space, and in front of them, there was a tall platform. This place was known as the lecture platform. Not every student had the opportunity to become the disciple of an elder. Hence, the academy would often arrange for guest elders to give lectures on cultivation. Today, there were many new students gathered at the lecture platform. The silhouettes of the youths were filled with vigor. Elder Rain is here. At this moment, the gazes of the crowd shifted to the front. Rain was clad in a long green dress, exuding a dignified and beautiful aura. There weren't many adornments on her body, but she was clean and tidy. Coupled with her dignified facial features and fair skin, she gave off a sense of otherworldliness. She was so beautiful that a commotion broke out. Mature goddess. Fatty sat on the lecture platform. His eyes shone with a bright light, as though his eyeballs were about to pop out of their sockets. Rain sat cross-legged on the lecture platform, gazing at the students below. Her clear voice rang out, "The majority of you are either at the upper 3 levels of the body refinement realm or at the arterial circulation realm. Today, I will be lecturing on some knowledge regarding the arterial circulation realm." "Okay, we will listen to whatever teacher says." The crowd below cheered. "You guys should all be very clear that the human body is a vessel with unlimited potential. This vessel can expand unceasingly. The first level of Wu Xiu's cultivation is body refinement. His goal is to refine a perfect body. Only when one's body is perfect would they be able to cultivate better. The body refinement realm is actually the foundational realm, and it's used to lay the foundation for the arterial circulation realm. However, is the so-called perfect body in the body refinement realm truly perfect? Obviously, this is just a saying. As Wu Xiu's cultivation base grows stronger, our bodies are also continuously perfected. There is no end to this. There are some body refinement realm cultivators whose bodies can split apart mountains and split apart seas. The arterial circulation realm is the sublimation of the body refinement realm. After opening up the arterial pathways, every part of the human body can be connected through the arterial circulation pathway. The arterial circulation pathway connects the head, heart, limbs, and every other part of the body. When we cultivate, the astral energy will circulate through the arterial circulation pathway, continuing to temper our physical body. When we battle, the astral energy will flow through the arterial circulation pathway to every part of the body. Sharp eyes, strong vision. Sharp ears, strong hearing. But when we fight, we would usually use our hands and feet because the majority of the innate techniques you guys cultivate are released through your hands and feet. But what about those with special astral souls or those with terrifying strength? A single glance from them can even bewitch a person's heart. A single breath from them can even kill. So, you guys shouldn't be too limited. Open up your thoughts, and when you cultivate, use the astral energy to circulate around your body, tempering every single part of your body. At the same time, you should constantly open up your arterial circulation pathway, increasing the capacity of your astral energy to the point where you can open up new arterial circulation pathways. Of course, you have to adjust your cultivation methods according to your astral souls, choosing cultivation arts, innate techniques. As Rain's gentle voice continued to echo out, the entire space gradually quietened down. Everyone listened attentively. Her voice seemed to contain a magical power, drawing the crowd into an ocean of knowledge about cultivation. Because of Uncle Black's guidance, Qin Wentian had a deeper understanding of the basics of cultivation compared to the rest. But even so, he was still engrossed in Rain's lecture. No one's cultivation philosophy was perfect. Listening more, thinking more, and comprehending more would naturally be beneficial to one's cultivation. This lecture lasted for 4 hours. When Rain left, many people were reluctant to part, as though they wanted to listen to her lecture for a longer period of time. I want to woo my goddess. Fatty looked at Rain's departing silhouette with nostalgia in his eyes. Wake up, Elder Sue can kill you with a single slap. Qin Wentian glared at Fatty, causing an expression of depression to appear on Fatty's face. It seemed like he still had to work hard in his cultivation. There's still 10 days left. Are you guys ready? At this moment, a voice abruptly drifted over. Qin Wentian and Fan Lu turned their gazes over, only to see Morong Feng and Du Hao standing there with hints of provocation in their eyes. When the surrounding crowd saw the two of them, expressions of interest appeared on their faces. They knew that in the remaining 10 days, between these 4 people, there would be an earth-shattering battle. This battle would definitely garner a lot of attention from the masses. Do I even need to prepare to deal with you guys? Fan Lu laughed. Your mouth sure is tough. Du Hao coldly snorted. Morong Feng rubbed his chin as he stared at Qin Wentian. I heard that you've cultivated an earth-grade innate technique. I hope you won't disappoint me too much when the time comes. There's no meaning in a one-sided battle. After speaking, Morong Feng and Du Hao turned and departed. At the instant they turned, Morong Feng's eyes flashed with an extremely cold light. Evidently, he had already made up his mind regarding Orkan's plan. How arrogant, Fan Lu murmured as he watched the two of them depart. Fatty, it's about time for you to work hard. If not, you'll lose all your face when the time comes. Qin Wentian lifted his foot as a faint smile appeared on his face. He had to win this battle no matter what. This was only the beginning. Qin Wentian would never forget the cruel and merciless treatment they had given Fatty in the Dreamsky Forest. Chapter 58. Within the Emperor Star Academy, there were places for students to cultivate and even places for them to spar. However, they preferred to head to the City of Illusions to temper themselves. It was more exciting, and they could unleash their full strength without any reservations. However, Qin Wentian didn't head to the City of Illusions. Instead, he chose to cultivate in his own dreamscape. At this moment, on a vast and empty land, only Qin Wentian stood there, unceasingly blasting out palm imprints. The diamond imprint is tyrannical and indestructible, while the revolving sea imprint is a combination of hardness and softness. Sometimes it's like the calm waters of the sea, and sometimes it's like a gigantic tidal wave, breaking apart everything. Hardness contains softness, softness contains hardness. Qin Wentian murmured, as he unceasingly blasted out palm after palm, yet he was still unable to comprehend the essence of the revolving sea imprint. Sadly, I have yet to reach the dreamscape realm. If not, I would be able to create an ocean in my own dreamscape, allowing me to personally experience it. Qin Wentian mused, as he unceasingly blasted out his palms. He didn't know how many palms he had blasted out, but the sound of slapping rang out, causing Qin Wentian's eyes to widen in surprise. Well, one round after another, just like the arterial pathways in my body. Advancing layer by layer, the instant the energy reaches my palms, it will explode forth, unleashing a supreme might. Qin Wentian's eyes brightened. Drawing in a deep breath, he slowly pushed out with his palms. This time around, his palms were very slow, yet it brought forth a gust of wind, as though the waves were stacking together unceasingly. Softness, this is the feeling of softness. Yes, it's exactly like this. At the very last instant, the waves stacked together, and at the very end, the explosive force is as violent as a tsunami. A smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face. He had finally comprehended the essence of the revolving sea imprint. After a long period of time, Qin Wentian blasted out with his palms. His palms were like towering waves, emitting a terrifying crashing sound. And this wasn't even infused with astral energy. After familiarizing himself with the revolving sea imprint, Qin Wentian used his dreams as a guide, allowing his consciousness to enter the tiny astral being. However, there was no reaction. These few days, because he had many Yuan meteor stones on hand, Qin Wentian unceasingly tried to pry into the memories of the tiny astral being. However, he gradually discovered that if he wanted to allow his consciousness to enter the internal space of the tiny astral being, it didn't require too much astral energy. However, the internal space he was in right now was as vast as the starry skies. Within the starry skies, there were many astral fragments, each of which could absorb astral energy. Hence, he had to use Yuan meteor stones to open it up. This change caused Qin Wentian to feel that this tiny astral being was extremely unique. Naturally, Qin Wentian had also attempted to not enter the internal space of the tiny astral being. Instead, he attempted to directly use astral energy to light up the tiny astral being. However, he discovered that the tiny astral being now was like a bottomless pit. It was easy to use his consciousness to enter, but if he wanted to light up the tiny astral being, he would need to expend a huge amount of Yuan meteor stones. This caused Qin Wentian to feel an immense pressure. Even with his current wealth, he wouldn't be able to afford it. Let's first take a look at these astral fragments and see what memories they contain. With a single thought, Qin Wentian allowed astral energy to flow into the starry skies, seeping into one of the astral fragments that Qin Wentian's consciousness was attached to. Although this was only a dream, as long as his consciousness guided it, he would be able to draw in astral energy. Naturally, the prerequisite was that Qin Wentian had to have Yuan meteor stones in his possession in the outside world. Cultivating in a dream would not be able to create a fake existence, at least not at the shallow dreamscape level. Gradually, the astral fragment glowed brighter and brighter. Finally, a beam of light flashed as a stream of memories flowed into Qin Wentian's body, jolting his consciousness out of his body. Shaking his head, Qin Wentian awoke from his dream with a start. However, he immediately closed his eyes as he tried to sense the memories. This time around, it was the same as the previous time in the Qin Heavenly Divine sect. What Qin Wentian saw were still images, not words. Cultivation arts, innate techniques, or weaponsmithing knowledge, they were all memories related to words. Back then, when Qin Wentian was in the Qin Heavenly Divine sect, he saw images. This time around, it was the same as well. In this image, he saw an extremely terrifying empire. The atmosphere within the imperial palace was majestic and majestic. Qin Wentian didn't even dare to imagine the majestic aura it exuded. Numerous stone pillars stood erect, piercing through the clouds. That imperial palace was even larger than Sky Harmony City, and the number of experts within were as many as the clouds. In front of such an empire, the Chu country was like an ant. This was the feeling Qin Wentian had when he saw it. Qin Wentian once again saw the silhouette of the middle-aged man from the Qin Heavenly Divine sect. He stood on the towering stone pillar outside the imperial palace, laughing arrogantly at the heavens. With a wave of his hand, the heavens and earth were turned upside down. In the memory, an extremely beautiful woman appeared. That woman was directly brought away by the middle-aged man, and those who dared to obstruct him either died or were killed. Nobody could obstruct him. This seemed to have verified a saying that Qin Wentian had heard before. When one's strength reached a certain level, a single person could be the law of an entire country. In this vast world, I am the most unfettered, tyrannical, doing whatever I want. I am the heavens, I am the law. When Qin Wentian exited the memory, he still couldn't calm the shock in his heart. Too strong. Compared to the empire, the Chu country could only be considered a small country. That middle-aged man could destroy the entire Chu country with a stomp of his feet. No wonder Uncle Black told me that this is the world of stellar martial cultivators. Sky Harmony City is too small, and the Chu country is also too small. Qin Wentian drew in a deep breath, as waves of emotions surged in his heart. However, he also understood that although the Chu country couldn't be considered anything in the grand scheme of things, right now, he couldn't be considered anything in the Chu country. If he wanted to grow stronger, he had to take things one step at a time, and not bite off more than he could chew. Old fogey, who are you exactly? And what is this tiny astral being you left behind for me? Inclining his head and staring at the air, Qin Wentian thought of the middle-aged man. There were many scenes of that middle-aged man in his memory. Could he be the old fogey? If that was the case, had his old fogey really died? Who? Exhaling a turbid breath, Qin Wentian silently mused, if I were to light up the tiny astral being once again, what kind of surprise would it bring me? Qin Wentian really wanted to give it a try, but the date of the duel was getting nearer and nearer. The most important thing to do now was to condense the astral energy in his body into divine imprints. This process would require the consumption of a large number of yuan meteor stones. Cultivation is difficult. Wanting to cultivate a tyrannical innate technique is even more difficult. Not only must one rely on talent, one must also have the support of an enormous amount of resources. Qin Wentian murmured in his heart. In his heart, he was already thinking that after a period of time, he would have to consider forging more divine weapons to sell. The spirit refinement method was a divine art that used divine imprints to condense true energy. The first level of the spirit refinement method was to instantly condense a large amount of astral energy into a first-level divine imprint. As he continued to cultivate the spirit refinement method, his comprehension of divine imprints would only grow stronger and stronger. Time flowed by, and Qin Wentian continued to immerse himself in the condensation of divine energy. Not only that, after the condensation of divine energy, he would circulate the divine energy through his stellar meridians, unceasingly tempering every part of his body. From Rain's lecture, Qin Wentian was able to absorb some useful knowledge. If this continued for 1 or 2 times, it wouldn't be of much use. However, after 100 times, or even 1,000 times, he discovered that there were some changes occurring within his body. Not only was Qin Wentian diligent in his cultivation, even Fan Lu was extremely diligent, not bothering Qin Wentian at all. Although Fan Lu appeared to be frivolous on the surface, he was actually extremely serious about this battle. The cruel lesson he had received in the City of Illusions was deeply engraved in his mind. Even if Fan Lu didn't say anything, Qin Wentian would understand. Every time he thought about how the members of the Knights Association had pierced a long spear into Fan Li's body, stirring the insides of Fan Li's body, an intense desire to kill would rise up in Qin Wentian's heart. This debt must be repaid with blood. And while Qin Wentian and Fan Lu were diligently cultivating, over at the Knights Association, Murong Feng and Du Hao weren't idle either. Ever since Qin Wentian killed Orphan and unleashed his innate talent, Orkan knew that the person he had once looked down on had already become a threat to him. Not only that, it wouldn't be as easy to eradicate Qin Wentian anymore. This was such a good opportunity. How could he give it up? On the training grounds, Murong Feng and Du Hao were fighting against a few other members of the Knights Association. The attacks from both sides were extremely violent. Not bad, Murong Feng is indeed a rare genius. His Space Render Fist is tyrannical and tyrannical, capable of rupturing meridians and rupturing internal organs. It's the same as the Thousand Hands imprint, a mid-tier Earth-grade innate technique. The only difference is that the Space Render Fist isn't divided into several stances. The deeper one's comprehension of it, the greater the destructive power they can unleash. A member of the Knights Association standing beside Orkan coldly laughed. Orkan's countenance was calm, yet a terrifying coldness flickered in the depths of his eyes. This Space Render Fist was something he had specially prepared for Qin Wentian, and he had given it to both Murong Feng and Du Hao. This fist technique was extremely tyrannical and ruthless, capable of directly rupturing the meridians and internal organs of one's opponent. Murong Feng's cultivation base was already much higher than Qin Wentian's. If he were to practice this tyrannical and ruthless fist technique, he would definitely be able to suppress Qin Wentian, who had a lower cultivation base than him. That's not enough. I'll still prepare a trump card for Murong Feng, just in case. Qin Wentian, Fan Lu, prepare yourselves for the pain of being crippled. Orkan's lips curled into a smile. Even if he felt that victory was already in his grasp, he still had to make ample preparations. Chapter 59. Today, there were many people gathered in the training grounds of the Emperor Star Academy. Among these people, there were 2 groups of people that stood out the most. They stood at the forefront of the training grounds, staring at each other with hostility. The Knights Association and the Green Cloud Association. Today was the day of their battle. Murong Feng and Du Hao had already arrived. They had already joined the Knights Association, becoming one of their members. Still not here. Murong Feng slowly walked up, standing on the training grounds with his hands clasped behind his back. Du Hao followed behind him. Although he was only 16 years of age, the current Murong Feng already had a trace of the aura of an expert. Just by standing there, he gave off a feeling of being revered by a mountain. 16 years of age, dual astral souls, 4th level of the arterial circulation realm, the top student of the Emperor Star Academy. Murong Feng seems to be very confident. The crowd murmured in their hearts. Qin Wentian is here. At this moment, from afar, a few silhouettes could be seen walking over. The person in the lead was none other than Qin Wentian and Fan Le. They directly walked towards Luo Huan from the Green Cloud Association. Senior sister. Qin Wentian smiled. Are you confident? Luo Huan's lips curled up in a charming smile, causing the hearts of others to go wild. I'll do my best. Qin Wentian laughed. Although he said this, he still had some confidence in his heart, despite the fact that his cultivation base was still far from Murong Feng's. I'm filled with anticipation. Go on. Luo Huan laughed. Qin Wentian and Fan Le walked up the training grounds, staring at the two silhouettes in front of them. Upon seeing the two of them, Murong Feng indifferently stated, since this is a battle, injuries are bound to occur. What if I accidentally injure the two of you? The eyes of Qin Wentian and Fan Le narrowed. This Murong Feng was extremely confident. You better worry about yourself, Qin Wentian replied. Is that so? Murong Feng laughed. If you can injure me, it's because I'm useless. I guarantee that the Academy will not pursue this matter. It's the same for me. If I lose, it doesn't matter even if I die. But what about the rest of you? Du Hao's eyes gleamed with sharpness as he stared at Qin Wentian and Qin Wentian, causing the crowd below to be startled. Du Hao had come prepared. He wanted Qin Wentian and Fan Le to sign a life-and-death contract. Naturally, it was impossible for Qin Wentian to die, as the Emperor Star Academy wouldn't allow it. However, if Qin Wentian's strength was too great, he might even be crippled. Qin Wentian stared at Murong Feng and Du Hao. How could he not understand the meaning behind their words? Are you guys sure? Qin Wentian was silent for a moment before he finally spoke. If you wish for me to show mercy, I can consider it. Murong Feng's gaze was filled with provocation. Qin Wentian looked at him for a moment and then nodded. In that case, let's fight. In the past, Qin Wentian didn't have much enmity with Murong Feng and Du Hao. But since they were already prepared to kill him, Qin Wentian naturally understood what he had to do. This battle will be the worst decision you'll ever make in your entire life. Murong Feng's calm voice contained an intense self-confidence. As the sound of his voice faded, he released both of his astral souls. In the air above his head, two astral shadows appeared. One was a lion, the other was a gigantic eagle. The two astral souls Murong Feng had chosen were both demonic beast astral souls. The lion astral soul granted him immense strength, while the gigantic eagle astral soul granted him terrifying attacks and agility. Murong Feng's body contained the unique characteristics of both demonic beasts. At this moment, Murong Feng's eyes were as wild as a demonic beast's, unexcelled in the world. Not only that, the aura he exuded was that of a cultivator at the 4th level of arterial circulation. Du Hao also released his astral souls. One of them was a tempest, while the other was a saber that shone with a cold light. However, the tempest wasn't too intense. Du Hao's astral soul was condensed from an astral soul from the 1st heavenly layer, while his saber astral soul was condensed from an astral soul from the 2nd heavenly layer. Fan Le also released his archery astral soul. In his hands, an astral bow appeared, with 3 astral arrows knocked on the bowstring, ready to be released. How do we play? Fan Le grinned as he looked at Qin Wentian. Can you handle Du Hao? Qin Wentian asked. No pressure. The corners of Fan Le's mouth curled up in a confident smile, causing Du Hao to coldly snort in response. Fine, leave Murong Feng to me. A radiant smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face as he released his heavenly hammer astral soul. 2nd level of arterial circulation. Murong Feng shook his head and laughed. However, in the next instant, his silhouette abruptly sprinted forwards. In an instant, the quiet Murong Feng disappeared, replaced by a berserk aura. He dashed forwards at an incredible speed, causing a violent gust of wind to kick up. Leaping into the air, Murong Feng was akin to a hawk soaring through the skies. After which, he abruptly slashed out with his claws, aiming for Qin Wentian below him. The razor-sharp claws unceasingly slashed towards Qin Wentian, containing a terrifying demonic aura. Qin Wentian lifted his hands, and with a draconic roar, the dragon-subduing fist transformed into a ferocious azure dragon, tearing apart everything. At the same time, Murong Feng's silhouette descended from the skies. His sharp claws transformed into fists of light as the roars of a lion echoed out. His fists tore apart the void as he smashed towards Qin Wentian. In that instant, Qin Wentian sensed a trace of danger. He slashed out with the first stance of the Thousand Hands imprint, the diamond imprint. A deafening sound echoed out as the yuan energy in the air exploded. Murong Feng's fists continued to press downwards, clashing against Qin Wentian's palms. Qin Wentian only felt the arterial pathways in his arms trembling unceasingly, as though they were about to shatter. Taking a step forward, Qin Wentian's body rebounded backwards. His feet scraped against the ground, emitting a chi-chi sound. The terrifying energy within his body continued to wreak havoc. What a powerful innate technique. The grade of it isn't any lower than the Thousand Hands imprint. Qin Wentian was at a disadvantage. Murong Feng was 2 levels higher than him, and he was also using a mid-tier Earth-grade innate technique. This battle wasn't going to be easy. Space Render Fist. Below the platform, Luo Huan's countenance was extremely unsightly. Murong Feng had actually cultivated the Space Render Fist to the extent that it could unleash its aura. This battle was going to be a little dangerous. She couldn't help but worry for Qin Wentian. Even if Qin Wentian had an advantage in terms of astral souls and astral energy, there was still a gap of 2 levels between them. On the other side, the battle between Du Hao and Fan Lu had also erupted. Du Hao wielded an astral saber in his hands, which was imbued with the power of wind, causing his saber to be incomparably swift and ethereal. Other than that, Du Hao's speed was also extremely fast, making him extremely difficult to deal with. 200 yuan meteor stones. Is the Green Cloud Association ready? Orkan's gaze shifted to Luo Huan. 200-second heavenly layer yuan meteor stones. This amount was more than enough to make the Green Cloud Association suffer. Luo Huan swept a glance at Orkan, before shifting her gaze onto Qin Wentian, who was standing on the platform. She murmured in her heart, "Little fellow, it's all up to you now. There are many people watching this battle." Although this was a battle between the Knights Association and the Green Cloud Association, the main characters of this battle were 2 unique. Qin Wentian. His astral souls were extremely tyrannical, and he was the strongest in the history of the Emperor Star Academy. His future achievements were immeasurable. Murong Feng, a rare genius of the Emperor Star Academy. At the age of 16, he already had a talent at the 4th level of arterial circulation. Not only that, Luo Huan had also heard of some rumors, but she didn't know if it was true or false. If it was true, Qin Wentian would be in grave danger in this battle. Hence, with regards to this battle, there were many spectators who were watching it. On the platform, the Thousand Hands imprint, is it very strong? I've said it before, this battle will be the most regretful thing you will ever do in your life. Murong Feng slowly advanced. The aura exuding from him grew increasingly violent. An aura that could shatter everything gushed towards Qin Wentian. Seeing Murong Feng advancing step by step, the divine energy within Qin Wentian's body began to circulate. He had the most perfect arterial circulation, and the flow of astral energy within his body was much smoother compared to others. As long as Qin Wentian willed it, the speed of his attacks would be even faster than others. Oh! Qin Wentian laughed. Using the divine energy condensed from the astral energy of the Heavenly Hammer constellation, in addition to the Thousand Hands imprint, how powerful would it be? Qin Wentian had never fought in a real battle before. Boom! The ground abruptly trembled as Murong Feng lunged towards Qin Wentian. His strength was akin to that of a ferocious beast, and his agility was akin to that of a hawk. A terrifying astral wind gushed forth, slamming into Qin Wentian's body. Repent! Murong Feng's countenance was incomparably calm. This battle should have been won without any suspense. Rumble! Within Qin Wentian's body, a terrifying amount of divine energy frenziedly converged on his arms. Qin Wentian stood at his original position, and finally, he lifted his arms and struck out with the first stance of the Thousand Hands imprint, the diamond imprint. This time around, the diamond imprint was even more resplendent. The powerful ancient imprint contained a terrifying might, akin to a divine palm from the heavens, capable of crushing and shattering everything in its path. The attacks of the two collided together, causing a gigantic astral wind to sweep out in all directions. Scram! Qin Wentian spat out a stream of divine energy from his mouth. This divine energy actually transformed into a tyrannical palm imprint, directly slamming into Murong Feng's body, causing Murong Feng to retreat madly as he groaned in pain. As for Qin Wentian, he stood there unmoving, as steady as a mountain. Is that really the diamond imprint? How can it be so powerful? Luo Huan's countenance stiffened. She had naturally seen the Thousand Hands imprint before, but why was the diamond imprint unleashed by Qin Wentian so terrifying? Not only that, to be able to spit out a palm imprint, how smooth must one's meridians be? And how did one manage to condense it into a palm imprint? Luo Huan's heart trembled, but soon after, a charming smile appeared on her face. This junior brother of hers was truly becoming more and more likable. Chapter 60. One of the reasons why Qin Wentian was able to spit out palm imprints was naturally due to the divine energy within his body. The divine energy within his body was condensed from the divine imprints of palm imprints, and every strand of divine energy contained the might of a palm. As for the other reason, he had to thank Rain for her lecture. Qin Wentian's arterial circulation was the astral circulation pathway, and after that lecture, he tried to circulate the yuan energy within his body through his arterial circulation pathway and discovered some miraculous effects. This was the reason why he was able to spit out palm imprints earlier. The spectators were all shocked when they saw Qin Wentian forcing Morongfeng back. They had thought that Morongfeng would be able to suppress Qin Wentian by relying on his superior cultivation base and the space render fist. That palm imprint earlier was so terrifying. I once saw a senior at the peak of the arterial circulation realm executing it. Although the might of that palm imprint was stronger, it wasn't as ferocious as Qin Wentian's. An old student murmured, "It's indeed terrifying. If that's the case, it's hard to say who would be the victor." The spectators' interest grew. After being forced back, Morongfeng seriously scrutinized Qin Wentian. After which, a smile appeared on his face as he stated, "Only this way would things be interesting. At least I would be able to unleash my true strength. If not, wouldn't it be too boring?" Morongfeng was still holding back earlier? Someone exclaimed in his heart. If that was the case, wasn't Morongfeng a little too terrifying? Do you know why I chose demonic beast-type astral souls? Morongfeng stared at Qin Wentian as he indifferently asked. "I'm not interested." Qin Wentian replied. Hee, next, let's properly experience it. This is the first time I've gone all out in a battle after entering the Emperor Star Academy. Morongfeng calmly stated. Abruptly, a terrifying aura gushed forth from his body. His entire being was filled with the aura of a primordial beast. Bloodline. The hearts of the spectators violently pounded. The number one freshman, Morongfeng, had actually awakened the power of his bloodline. His talent was too terrifying. If that was the case, disregarding his cultivation base, just based on his innate talent alone, he had the qualifications to contend against Qin Wentian. No wonder he's so confident. Many people sighed in their hearts. Luo Huan's beautiful eyes flashed with an uneasy light when she saw this scene. It seemed like the rumors were true. Morongfeng actually possessed the power of a bloodline limit. If that was the case, Qin Wentian was truly in danger. Her heart was in her throat again. This is the Berserk Beast bloodline. You are the first person to make me use the power of my bloodline to fight. You already have the right to show off. Morongfeng stared at Qin Wentian. His body seemed to have grown larger, and the aura he exuded was extremely berserk, akin to that of a ferocious beast. Boom. Morongfeng took a step forward, causing the entire stage to tremble. Qin Wentian's countenance grew heavier as he stared at Morongfeng. After activating his bloodline of the Berserk Beast, Morongfeng's combat prowess had risen to another level. Evidently, Morongfeng's combat prowess had exceeded his expectations. But so what? The aura Morongfeng exuded grew stronger and stronger. When he arrived in front of Qin Wentian felt that his opponent wasn't a human, but a completely berserk demonic beast. The Space Render Fist was unleashed from Morongfeng's body. This time around, the might of his fist was terrifying. The roars of a lion and the cries of an eagle could be heard, and the surging force of his fist swept through everything, wanting to kill Qin Wentian on the spot. Qin Wentian's countenance was expressionless. However, the divine energy in his body was already boiling, akin to the ferocious roars of the ocean. Upon seeing Morongfeng's fist descending on him, Qin Wentian's palms continuously trembled, and in an instant, several palm imprints were formed. These palm imprints appeared incomparably gentle, yet very quickly, terrifying rumbling sounds could be heard. After which, the crowd saw the palm imprints howling, engulfing the heavens and the earth. Using divine energy to execute the revolving sea imprint instantly consumed an unknown amount of divine energy in Qin Wentian's body. However, the effect was also extremely terrifying. The entire space was engulfed by the palm imprints. Rumble! A terrifying force rumbled on the platform. Murong Feng only felt that the palm imprints he was facing were getting stronger and stronger. Not only that, Qin Wentian's attacks didn't stop. At this moment, it was as though Qin Wentian had gone berserk. Numerous revolving sea imprints blasted out, causing Murong Feng's Space Render fist to explode unceasingly. Finally, that tsunami-like palm imprint broke through everything, arriving in front of Murong Feng. The incomparably terrifying pressure caused Murong Feng's countenance to drastically change. With a howl of rage, he executed the Space Render fist to its limits. However, his body was still flung through the air as his countenance paled. Qin Wentian is so strong? The hearts of the crowd trembled. The combat prowess Qin Wentian displayed was simply too terrifying. That's the second move of the thousand-hand imprint, the revolving sea imprint. When executed by Qin Wentian, it was as though the waves of the ocean were truly roaring. That imprint technique was simply too cool. Bloodline? I really don't know. Where is your so-called capital to flaunt? A cold smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face as he stared at Murong Feng. However, at this moment, he understood in his heart that he had to end this battle as quickly as possible. The revolving sea imprint consumed too much divine energy, and he wouldn't be able to fight for a long period of time. Murong Feng's countenance gradually contorted as a ruthless glint flickered in his eyes. Today, he had truly lost face. Beautifully done. Beside him, Fan Le, who had also ignited his bloodline limit, grinned at Qin Wentian. As he spoke, he didn't forget to shoot out a series of arrows in rapid succession, causing Du Hao to feel the urge to go crazy. After Fan Li's bloodline limit was awakened, the might of his arrows was even more tyrannical than before. Not only that, his control over his arrows had also improved, allowing him to continuously change directions, causing Du Hao to have no choice but to defend. Seems like there's no longer any suspense in this battle. Qin Wentian and Fan Le will both be able to defeat their opponents. Many in the crowd mused in their hearts. The combat prowess of Qin Wentian and Fan Le had completely exceeded their expectations. This was especially so for Qin Wentian. His thousand-hand imprint was on a completely different level compared to Murong Feng's Void Splitter fist. Stop playing around. Orkan's countenance turned cold. This Qin Wentian's combat prowess had far exceeded his expectations. Luckily, he had prepared a trump card. As the sound of his voice faded, both Murong Feng and Du Hao nodded their heads lightly. After which, the auras emanating from their bodies surged madly, unceasingly growing stronger. What's going on? Both of their auras are soaring at the same time? The eyes of the crowd narrowed. After which, they saw both Murong Feng and Du Hao rushing towards their opponents simultaneously. Qin Wentian's countenance stiffened as he blasted out with the revolving sea imprint. However, this time around, Qin Wentian only felt a monstrous force gushing towards him. His body was flung through the air, ruthlessly slamming into the arena as he coughed out a mouthful of blood. This sudden turn of events caused the spectators to be completely dumbfounded. What was going on? The tides of the battle had turned in an instant. Boom! Murong Feng's silhouette was as fast as lightning. His Void Splitter fist slammed towards Qin Wentian. His fist light tore apart space, wanting to shatter Qin Wentian into pieces. Stay your hand! Luo Huan roared, her countenance drastically changing. This battle had escalated to such an intense degree. This was something that no one had expected. Qin Wentian's countenance paled. He leapt into the air, but the fist light had already arrived. Break! A howl of rage rang out, only to see Fatty madly sprinting over. Using his bare hands, he pierced out with the arrow, shattering it into pieces. The incomparably tyrannical Space Render fist smashed into Fatty's chest, causing his body to stiffen. After which, he slumped to the ground helplessly, only to be caught by Qin Wentian, who had already stood up. You guys have consumed some medicinal pills. The silhouettes of those from the Green Cloud Association flickered as they dashed up the arena. However, those from the Knights Association weren't willing to be outdone, and similarly, they stepped onto the arena, clashing head-on with those from the Green Cloud Association. This is their own strength, Orkan emotionlessly stated. There's no longer any meaning in continuing this battle. Luo Huan's countenance was ice-cold. The combat prowess of Qin Wentian and Du Hao had given everyone a pleasant surprise. The two of them were only at the second level of arterial circulation, yet they were able to fight against a third-level arterial circulation realm and a fourth-level arterial circulation realm cultivator. Not only that, Murong Feng had even used the power of his bloodline limit. However, who would have thought that at the very last moment, Murong Feng and Du Hao's strength would explode once again? The battle hasn't ended yet, so the others are not allowed to interfere. Orkan coldly laughed. Fatty. At this moment, Qin Wentian's eyes reddened as he stared at Fan Le. This was the second time. Damn it, it's really painful. Brother, these two bastards cheated us. I, Fatty, won't be able to help you in the future. Just admit defeat. Fan Le laughed. Qin Wentian retrieved his silver needles and pierced them into several of Fan Li's acupoints, preventing his injuries from worsening. The battle hasn't ended yet. Murong Feng slowly walked over. Qin Wentian inclined his head, only to see Murong Feng and Du Hao's expressions filled with ruthlessness. Their goal today was to cripple Qin Wentian and Du Hao. Qin Wentian directly pierced a silver needle into his own temple. He stared at Murong Feng as killing intent gushed forth from his eyes. After which, he inserted the silver needles into every acupoint on his body. Very quickly, silver needles had been inserted into every single acupoint on his body. Streams of qi flowed through the silver needles and circulated throughout his body. The 12-link chains needle technique can save your life, but it can also take your life. Before stepping into Yuanfu, you are not allowed to use the needles. Qin Wentian could still vaguely remember Uncle Black's instructions. But at this moment, he couldn't care less. Within Qin Wentian's body, a chain of qi circulated frenziedly. Within his body, his blood boiled, as though there were countless formless shackles locking down his blood vessels. However, as the chain of qi transformed into a vortex, the formless shackles broke apart unceasingly. Fatty, I guarantee that there won't be a next time. The corners of Qin Wentian's lips curled up in a smile as he stared at Fatty in his arms. However, in the next instant, when he turned his gaze towards Murong Feng and Du Hao, his eyes were filled with boundless killing intent. Die! Qin Wentian howled in rage. His robes were directly torn apart as his blood vessels were ignited. At this moment, Qin Wentian could feel boundless power surging within him. This feeling was similar to the time when he was ignited by Fan Li's Empyrean flame bloodline. However, this time around, it was even stronger. Was the 12-link chains needle technique really just a set of needles? Chapter 61. A terrifying killing intent gushed forth from Qin Wentian's body. The spectators stared at the bare-chested Qin Wentian as their hearts pounded wildly. On Qin Wentian's body, lines of bloodline runic lines could be seen. The crowd felt as though they were looking at a complicated chain of shackles. What is that thing? The hearts of the spectators trembled violently. Even Mustang, who had just stepped onto the platform, was dumbfounded. Earlier, when he saw Qin Wentian in danger, he immediately appeared from the shadows. Not only Mustang, but several other elders also stepped out. However, no one paid any attention to them. The gazes of the crowd were all focused on Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian placed Fan Le down, as he stared at Murong Feng. Upon seeing the bloodthirsty look in Qin Wentian's eyes, Murong Feng actually felt a trace of fear. Even the power of his bloodline limit was trembling slightly. Boom! Qin Wentian stepped out, filled with a boundless killing intent as he dashed towards Murong Feng and Du Hao. Murong Feng and Du Hao's countenances sank as they too dashed towards Qin Wentian. At this point, they couldn't afford to lose. Die! Qin Wentian roared once more. The revolving sea imprint shone with a towering killing intent as it lunged towards Murong Feng and Du Hao. The attacks of the two were instantly engulfed by the revolving sea imprint as they were flung through the air. The qi and blood in their bodies churned violently as they coughed out blood. Qin Wentian madly dashed out once more. The countenances of Murong Feng and Du Hao paled as they turned and sprinted down the platform. However, in the blink of an eye, Qin Wentian had already caught up to Du Hao. Du Hao's entire body was flung through the air as he fell heavily onto the ground, unconscious. Too violent. The spectators were all dumbfounded. Today's battle had exceeded everyone's expectations. Qin Wentian's footsteps didn't stop as he continued chasing after Murong Feng. Feeling the killing intent behind him, Murong Feng's countenance was filled with terror. The The #1 student of the Emperor Star Academy. Was he going to be killed by this madman today? The revolving C imprint blasted out once again. Qin Wentian was filled with rage as he attacked. The terrifying palm imprint wanted to tear Morong Feng's body apart. Stop! However, at this moment, a loud roar rang out in the air. A silhouette descended from the sky and slashed out with a gigantic palm. The revolving C imprint instantly shattered as a terrifying hurricane directly blasted Qin Wentian away. Qin Wentian got up from the ground and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Looking at the figure in front of him, his killing intent surged. Janus! Bastard! You actually dared to be so ruthless, once again attacking a fellow disciple. Jiangjin angrily roared, his gaze sharp. Qin Wentian stared at him, his killing intent surging as he coldly stated, "Earlier when they attacked me, you didn't appear at all. Your disciple, Orkan, said that the battle has not ended and nobody is allowed to interfere. Now that you've appeared, it's truly a good time." Qin Wentian's voice was cold to the extreme, not giving any face to Janus. At this moment, Morong Feng, who was standing behind Janus, was still in a state of shock. His gaze was filled with fear as he stared at Qin Wentian. Janus, as an elder of the Emperor Star Academy, you actually dared to act against my disciple. How shameless. Mustang slowly walked over to the side of Qin Wentian, glaring at Janus. Elder Thousand Hands, isn't it about time for you to come out? Janus spoke. Momentarily, a silhouette soared through the air. It was none other than Elder Thousand Hands of the Disciplinary Institute. Luo Huan also walked out. She stared at Thousand Hands as she asked, Elder Thousand Hands, during a fair battle, consuming medicinal pills to increase one's combat prowess. Not only that, his methods were ruthless, wanting to cripple a fellow disciple. How should we handle this? Thousand Hands bitterly smiled, feeling extremely depressed. He had watched the entire battle from the start to the end. Honestly speaking, he was extremely shocked by the talent of both Qin Wentian and Morong Feng. Both of them were so outstanding, especially Qin Wentian. However, if something were to happen to Morong Feng, it would be a loss to the academy as well. Once again, he had to face the same situation as before. Elder Thousand Hands, this battle shall end here. In any case, there was no rule stating that one couldn't use certain methods during the battle. Morong Feng was defeated, and the Knights Association will pay the wager. However, Qin Wentian was so ruthless towards Du Hao, and even tried to kill Janus. Shouldn't he be punished? Janus stared at Thousand Hands as he spoke, his countenance cold and detached. If he won, he wouldn't allow others to interfere. But if he lost, the old bastard stepped out. What a joke. If I give up today, how can I face my brother? Qin Wentian stepped out, continuing towards Morong Feng. Janus' countenance sank as he moved in front of Qin Wentian, blocking his path. You don't know what's good for you, and you even disregard your elders. You have no manners at all. Old bastard. Qin Wentian continued walking forwards, staring at Janus. Upon hearing Qin Wentian's insults, Janus's aura grew colder and colder. Today, I'll have to be impudent for once. Mustang slowly walked out, dashing towards Janus as he indifferently stated to Qin Wentian, "Leave him to me." Mustang, how dare you? Janus stared at Mustang as his countenance stiffened. Mustang directly dashed towards him, intending to make a move. A battle between elders of the Emperor Star Academy was an extremely rare sight. But today, the students of the Emperor Star Academy had witnessed it. Return to the Knights Association. Orkan shouted to Morong Feng, as he led the members of the Knights Association away from here. Qin Wentian glanced at Luo Huan and the rest as he asked, "Senior sister, can you help me with something?" Upon hearing Qin Wentian's words, the corners of Luo Huan's lips curled up in an enchanting smile as she replied, "Today, the battle between the Knights Association and the Green Cloud Association has yet to end. Since the Knights Association has openly interfered, our Green Cloud Association will definitely not be a pushover." After which, they madly sprinted towards the direction of the members of the Knights Association. Qin Wentian similarly stepped out, causing great waves to surge in the hearts of the crowd as they followed after Qin Wentian. Chaos, everything is in chaos. Thousand Hands bitterly laughed as he witnessed this scene. He could only chase after them. The members of the Knights Association retreated to a separate manner, only to see the members of the Green Cloud Association charging towards them. This caused Orkan's countenance to turn extremely unsightly. What intolerable bullying, let's fight. Orkan's countenance flickered with a cold light as he frenziedly released his astral souls. Both sides directly engaged in a fierce battle, while Qin Wentian's gaze landed on Morong Feng, his killing intent surging violently. Boom! Qin Wentian madly sprinted forward once again. "Help him clear the path," Luo Huan commanded. After which, Yu Fei and Mountain stood on the left and right of Qin Wentian, releasing their astral souls. The two of them were also members of the Green Cloud Association. Qin Wentian's speed was exceedingly fast. Whenever someone attacked from the side, Yu Fei's sword and Mountain's violent attacks would instantly be unleashed. Both of them entered a berserk state, disregarding everything to attack. Murong Feng's countenance turned unsightly as he turned and fled once again. The astral energy in Qin Wentian's body flowed through his arterial pathways and into his legs. Qin Wentian's speed was even faster than Morong Feng's, and in the blink of an eye, he had already caught up to Morong Feng. With a howl of rage, he blasted out with the dragon-subduing fist, instantly slamming into Morong Feng's back, causing him to fall to the ground. Morong Feng turned, only to see a gigantic foot stomping down on his chest, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. "Stay your hand." A loud voice rang out. Janus soared through the air, directly appearing in front of Qin Wentian. Glaring at Qin Wentian, he coldly stated, "This is the second time, and this time, it's the number 1 student of the Emperor Star Academy." As he spoke, Janus took a step forward, as a terrifying pressure bore down on Qin Wentian. "Try and touch him if you dare." Mustang chased after Janus, landing behind Qin Wentian. From afar, there was a continuous stream of people madly sprinting over, their hearts pounding. This was indeed the second time, and it was very similar to the time when Orphan was killed. Number 1 student? Now he is no longer the number 1. Qin Wentian stared at Janus as he continued. Murong Feng and Du Hao's auras surged at the same time. Don't tell me that they didn't consume any medicinal pills, and use such despicable methods to cripple me and Fan Le. The members of the Knights Association didn't allow others to participate, and neither you nor the elder from the disciplinary hall stepped out to stop them. In that case, no one can stop me now. I won't allow you to do it a second time. Janus continued stepping forwards. This time around, the main character, Morong Feng, was even more outstanding compared to Orphan. "Today, I'm really going to do it," Qin Wentian spat out. After which, he stared at Orkan and the rest as he coldly stated, "The first time was to kill me in the dark forest. The second time was in the City of Illusions. The third time was on the battle platform earlier. If you guys aren't afraid, why should I be afraid?" Qin Wentian's killing intent surged as he lowered his head and stared at Morong Feng. "Whoever dares to touch my brother's people, no matter who you are, I will kill you." Qin Wentian roared, as the revolving sea imprint blasted out once again, transforming into a terrifying gigantic imprint that slammed into Morong Feng's head. The result was self-evident. The former number 1 student of the Emperor Star Academy was slain by Qin Wentian, right in front of Janus. "You're courting death." The killing intent radiating from Janus grew even more intense. Qin Wentian stared at him without fear as he stated, "Since I can kill him today, I will be able to kill you within a few years. So if you have the guts, kill me now. If not, don't provoke me." After speaking, Qin Wentian turned and left, leaving behind a stunned Janus. "Since I can kill him today, I will be able to kill you within a few years. So if you have the guts, kill me now. If not, don't provoke me." Janus was so angry that his body was trembling. Other than anger, there was also a hint of fear in the depths of his heart. The expression in the eyes of the youth was so cold, so resolute. Chapter 62. Just like that, Qin Wentian left in a dignified manner, rushing into the territory of the Knights Association and killing the number 1 student, Morong Feng. The members of the Green Cloud Association began to retreat, only to see Luo Huan speaking to Orkan. "There's no need for me to say anything more about the outcome of this battle. Where's the wager of the Knights Association?" "Wager?" Orkan's countenance was ice cold. Qin Wentian has killed his fellow students multiple times. If the Emperor Star Academy doesn't punish him, where would the prestige of the disciplinary board go? I still remember that before the battle started, Morong Feng and Du Hao had already expressed their stance. If they died in battle, it would be because of their incompetence, and there was no need for the Academy to pursue the matter. I'm sure that all the students and elders of the Emperor Star Academy who were present heard this. Luo Huan laughed as she continued. Naturally, if the Knights Association wants to renege on their debt, our Green Cloud Association would have nothing to say. However, the lesson this time around was truly satisfying. After speaking, Luo Huan led the members of the Green Cloud Association away, her heart filled with worry. That little fellow was truly crazy. This time around, the one he killed was a genius. Who knew if the higher-ups of the Emperor Star Academy would be infuriated by this? Qin Wentian didn't think too much about it. He was only a 16-year-old youth, and when he saw his own brother suffering such a heavy injury in order to save him, he had already lost his rationality. His only goal was to kill Murong Feng. Very obviously, he had accomplished it. After which, Qin Wentian handed Fan Lu over to Mustang. Murong Feng's punch was extremely ferocious, and although Fan Lu had blocked a portion of the force, he had still suffered heavy injuries. Qin Wentian followed Mustang to his residence. At this moment, he was sitting cross-legged in the training grounds. The terrifying energy within his body felt as though it wanted to devour all of his internal organs, causing his entire body to turn bright red. The energy was simply too tyrannical, and his body was currently unable to withstand it. Qin Wentian had no choice but to follow Mustang to his residence. Before breaking through to Yuanfu, you are not allowed to use acupuncture. Qin Wentian recalled Uncle Black's words. He only felt a burning sensation in his throat as he coughed out a mouthful of fresh blood. With a groan of misery, Qin Wentian fainted. Although Qin Wentian had fainted, the storm had not yet subsided. It was still brewing, and even Thousand Hands was under immense pressure. He had no choice but to look for Mustang and bring Qin Wentian away. 2 days later, when Qin Wentian woke up, he felt pain all over his body as if it was about to fall apart. Sitting up, he saw Mustang standing there with his back facing him. "Teacher," Qin Wentian called out. Mustang turned his head as a smile appeared on his face. "You've finally awoken. It's best if you don't use that secret art again in the future. Your body isn't able to withstand it, and if it weren't for the fact that you managed to suppress it with medicinal pills in time, I'm afraid you would have been in grave danger." "MHM," Qin Wentian nodded. "Thank you, teacher. How is Fan Lu?" "Nothing serious happened to him." Mustang shook his head. "You should worry more about yourself. Janice's faction has exerted quite a bit of pressure on the Academy. Currently, there are 2 different voices in the Academy, and there are many who wish to punish you." Upon hearing that Fan Lu was fine, a smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face. As for the punishment from the Academy, he didn't really care about it. Seeing the smile on Qin Wentian's face, Mustang rolled his eyes. "Aren't you worried at all?" "It's useless even if I'm worried. Since I've already done it, I'll admit it. Whatever happens next, I can only face it head-on." Qin Wentian shrugged his shoulders. "What a good admit it. I hope you can bear the consequences." At this moment, a cold voice drifted over. After which, Qin Wentian saw several people walking in. Only now did Qin Wentian survey his surroundings. This place was the disciplinary hall of the disciplinary hall. It was extremely spacious, and there were many seats on both sides of the hall. The main seat was for the disciplinary elder, but at this moment there was no one there. Very quickly, quite a number of people arrived. Qin Wentian's sharp senses discovered that these people were divided into 3 camps. Janice was in one camp, Mustang and the other disciplinary elders were in another camp, and Thousand Hands and the other 2 disciplinary elders were in another camp. Evidently, Janice and the others were pressuring the Academy for this matter. Killing fellow disciples twice, and both of them were geniuses of this year's batch. Not only that, Du Hao was heavily injured. Qin Wentian's character isn't righteous. Either he's crippled, or he's expelled from the Academy. If not, he will only become a scourge in the future. Janice coldly stated, wanting to push Qin Wentian into a corner. "The first time, we've already investigated. Orphan wanted to harm Qin Wentian and Du Hao in the dark forest. Since Qin Wentian had done so, what crime is he guilty of? The second time, during a fair duel, Murong Feng and Du Hao consumed medicinal pellets to increase their combat prowess. If they only wanted to obtain victory, that would be fine. But from Qin Wentian's injuries, it's clear that their goal was to kill Fan Lu and Qin Wentian. What crime is Qin Wentian's actions?" Mustang stared at Janice as he refuted. He didn't respect the elders of the Academy, and even threatened them with words. "What's the point of teaching such a scoundrel?" Janice coldly retorted. "You taught me?" Qin Wentian laughed as he looked at Janice, causing Janice's countenance to stiffen. Am I very familiar with you? Qin Wentian continued. You allowed your disciple to kill me, and even used all sorts of methods to get the academy to punish me. And now you still have the cheek to ask me to respect you? Your skin is really thick. Just like what Qin Wentian had said, since Janice had plotted so much to deal with him, there was no need for him to be polite with him. Elder Thousand Hands, listen to this yourself. Janice coldly snorted. Thousand Hands and the other two turned their gazes onto Qin Wentian. After which, the elder standing beside Thousand Hands asked, if your strength was stronger than Janice, would you have killed him when he obstructed you from killing Morong Fong? I would. Qin Wentian replied without any hesitation, causing Janice's countenance to turn extremely ugly to behold. Why? That elder asked again. Morong Fong injured my brother. Whoever obstructs me will be my enemy. A resolute expression could be seen on the face of the youth. That elder nodded his head, before turning his gaze to Thousand Hands. Thousand Hands swept a glance at the crowd before saying, Leave, the disciplinary committee will handle this matter. What does the disciplinary committee intend to do? Janice inquired. This is a matter for the disciplinary committee to handle. Please leave. Thousand Hands' words caused Janice to furrow his brows. From Thousand Hands' tone, it was highly possible that he wouldn't do anything to Qin Wentian. I hope that the disciplinary committee can give us an explanation. Janice flicked his sleeves and left, appearing extremely displeased. Mustang patted Qin Wentian on his shoulder as he left as well. He believed that the disciplinary committee wouldn't do anything to Qin Wentian. At the very least, a genius like him wouldn't be expelled from the academy. After they left, Thousand Hands spoke to Qin Wentian. Follow me. As he spoke, he slowly walked out of the disciplinary hall. Qin Wentian could only follow behind, not asking any questions. After exiting, Qin Wentian discovered that the back of the disciplinary hall was against a mountain. Thousand Hands actually led him up the mountain, arriving at a courtyard at the waist of the mountain. This courtyard was actually built on the edge of a precipice, and standing at the edge of the precipice, one could overlook the entire Emperor Star Academy. At this moment, there was a silhouette with his hands clasped behind his back, staring down at the Emperor Star Academy. I've brought him here. Thousand Hands gazed at the back of the silhouette, as traces of respect could be seen in his eyes. Little fellow, come here. That person's back was still facing Qin Wentian as he calmly spoke. Qin Wentian glanced at Thousand Hands, only to see him laughing. Little fellow, your luck isn't bad. After speaking, Thousand Hands turned and left. His mission was to send Qin Wentian here. Qin Wentian walked towards the edge of the precipice, arriving at the side of the silhouette. Only then did the silhouette turn and look at Qin Wentian. This silhouette was an old man. He looked calm and peaceful, with a few strands of white hair on both sides of his temples. His eyes were immeasurably deep, as though he had experienced the vicissitudes of life. At this moment, a hint of a smile could be seen flickering in his eyes. I like people who don't abide by the rules. You suit my personality very well. That silhouette laughed as he continued. My name is Ren Qianqing. You might not have heard of my name before, but you should have heard of my deeds. Because I once did the same thing as you. What did you do? A puzzled expression appeared on Qin Wentian's face. Killing a fellow disciple. Ren Qianqing laughed as he continued. That was something that happened many years ago. I still remember when I was young. I entered the dreamscape of the Dreamsky Forest and discovered a lecherous fellow. He raped a female student in the Dreamsky Forest, causing her to have a mental breakdown after she woke up. In a fit of rage, I killed that person. Qin Wentian's countenance trembled as a hint of anger flashed in his eyes. Humiliating someone in the dreamscape of the Dreamsky Forest? How vicious. In that case, Senior was one of the 3 people who killed that person. Since you killed someone because of that, the Academy has no reason to punish Senior, right? Qin Wentian asked. Ren Qianqing shook his head. I'm not like you. Back then, my talent was mediocre, and the person I killed had a higher talent than me. In this world, what others see is not fairness and justice. Not only that, the Emperor Star Academy has its own rules. In the Dreamsky Forest, you can do anything you want. Even killing someone is a common occurrence. Chapter 63. Qin Wentian nodded his head in agreement. In the world of cultivation, there was indeed no such thing as fairness and justice. Back then when he killed Orphan, if it wasn't for his outstanding talent, how could the Emperor Star Academy spare him? However, even though the world is like this, humans still have to have their own beliefs. I admire people with character, even if they don't abide by the rules, but I hate those who are too egotistical. These kinds of people would only care about their own benefits. For example, if the Emperor Star Academy nurtured them, and one day they would become a powerhouse, and if someone offered them greater benefits, they would destroy the Emperor Star Academy. Ren Qianqing laughed as he continued, "But you are different. Last year, during the sacrificial ceremony, the Yi clan wanted to destroy the Qin clan. You could have joined the Star River Association, but you didn't. Instead, you chose to advance and retreat together with the Qin clan. Although you are a little foolish, this is the personality I like." This matter was known by everyone in Sky Harmony City. Mustang was also in Sky Harmony City back then, so it wasn't surprising that Ren Qianqing knew about it. A smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face as he asked, "Seems like Senior's philosophy is similar to Teacher Mustang's. Is Senior the headmaster?" "No." Ren Qianqing shook his head. "I'm the second person, the one who was imprisoned for many years. Naturally, since it's just a rumor, you can't believe it completely. It's just that I rarely appear in the public eye. Seems like the Emperor Star Academy has many secrets." Qin Wentian silently mused. "Senior, I've caused quite a bit of trouble this time around. I'm afraid I've caused trouble for the Emperor Star Academy." Qin Wentian shifted his gaze onto Ren Qianqing. "You want to know how the Emperor Star Academy will handle this matter, as well as the reason why they called you here, right?" Ren Qianqing's eyes gleamed with wisdom, causing Qin Wentian to smile awkwardly. "This little bit of trouble is nothing to the Emperor Star Academy, but you've caused so much trouble for yourself." Ren Qianqing casually replied, "The Emperor Star Academy has a history of over a few thousand years. Regardless of elders or students, their way of doing things is different. But precisely because of this, the students of the Academy have a strong sense of competition. This is the only way the Academy is complete. The Emperor Star Academy has never imparted ideals to its students. It only teaches cultivation, and doesn't care what kind of person you will become in the future. This is precisely the reason why the Emperor Star Academy has such a transcendent status. The matter between you and Orcon, the Emperor Star Academy will not interfere. This place is merely a platform. How high you can soar will depend on yourselves." Ren Qianqing laughed. "As for the reason why I invited you here, it's because I wanted to see what kind of person you are. Now that I've met you, you can go back now." Qin Wentian blinked. "That's it. What do you want?" Ren Qianqing looked into Qin Wentian's eyes and smiled. "And here I thought that I would be pleasantly surprised after meeting a legendary character of the Academy." Qin Wentian rubbed his chin as he laughed. "Haha." Ren Qianqing laughed uproariously. "Fine, if you want a surprise, I'll give it to you." Ren Qianqing retrieved a small golden sword the size of a finger, yet it exuded a terrifying sharpness. This is the Gold Punisher Sword, a third-level divine weapon. However, it can only be used once. As long as the divine imprints within are activated, the Gold Punisher Sword will explode forth with a terrifying sword chi. If the sword chi completely hits the target, even a cultivator at the 5th level of Yuanfu wouldn't be able to evade it. The area of effect of the sword chi is extremely wide, so you must be careful when using it. A sharp glint of light flashed in Qin Wentian's eyes. What a precious gift. He himself knew that if it was a third-level divine weapon, he wouldn't be able to unleash its full power. However, this Gold Punisher Sword was different. It was a single-use divine weapon, and could be used as a life-saving trump card. In the Academy, I won't give you any special privileges. If you want resources, you have to fight for them yourself. There are many terrifying innate techniques and cultivation arts in the Heavenly Star Pavilion. If you have the ability, go and get them yourself. As for the Gold Punisher Sword, I gave it to you because you are not safe in the royal capital. Unless you are in a life or death situation, don't use it. Many thanks, old Ren." Qin Wentian felt gratitude in his heart. Indeed, he needed such a life-saving trump card. After all, there were many people who wanted his life. Not to mention the royal clan and the Yi clan, he wouldn't even be able to deal with Orcon. "You can go, but don't tell anyone that you've met me, including Mustang." Ren Qianqing waved his hands at Qin Wentian. "Wentian shall take his leave." Qin Wentian bowed slightly to Ren Qianqing before turning and departing. On the face of the youth, a smile as bright as the sun could be seen. It was hard to imagine that such a youth would have the same craziness as when he killed Morong Feng that day. Staring at the departing back view of the youth, the corners of Ren Qianqing's mouth curled up in a smile. This little fellow was even more interesting than him in the past. You really can't stay idle. At this moment, a silhouette drifted over from the void. How is it? Are you prepared to include him in your plans? That person laughed. Ren Qianqing shifted his gaze to the person who had just arrived. There shouldn't be any problems with his talent. As for his character, at least from the looks of it now, there shouldn't be any problems. He just entered the academy not too long ago and already caused such a huge commotion. Aren't you worried that he would become another him? That person laughed. Young and frivolous, it's not a big deal. Wasn't I the same when I was young? As for what you said, I will consider it. Let's just continue to observe. Ren Qianqing shook his head as a bitter smile appeared on his face. Back then, he had also regarded a youth highly. But in the end, he discovered that he had raised a ferocious wolf that had almost brought a calamity to the Emperor's Star Academy. As he thought of this, his heart couldn't help but ache. Back then, he had regarded that fellow with great importance. But the things that happened afterwards caused him to feel bitter and bitter. After Qin Wentian descended the mountain, he headed back to his residence. As he walked through the academy, several gazes landed on him, as expressions of interest could be seen on their faces. It's Qin Wentian. I heard that he was sent to the disciplinary hall, but today he walked out unscathed. Evidently, the academy has no plans to punish him. Talent is a privilege. If it was a higher-year student who killed a genius like Morong Feng, the consequences would be dire. However, Qin Wentian defeated Morong Feng head-on. Not only that, he jumped levels to do so. Not only that, his talent is even stronger than Morong Feng's. The title of the top ranker amongst the new students has already changed hands. Within the academy, many people were whispering to each other. If this was the case, things were getting more and more interesting. Janice and the Knights Association would definitely be infuriated. They would definitely not let Qin Wentian off so easily. Qin Wentian quickened his pace as he walked towards his residence. Even before he arrived, he had already called out, "Fatty." Fan Li's head popped out as he walked towards Qin Wentian. "Fatty, how's your injury?" Qin Wentian contemplated Fan Li, only to see Fan Li grinning as he replied, "It's nothing serious. Why don't we take a walk around the academy?" "It's good that you're fine." Qin Wentian couldn't help but have a look of bewilderment on his face when he saw the flickering look in Fan Li's eyes. At this moment, a light sound drifted out from within the room. "Who's inside?" Qin Wentian asked as his eyes flickered. "Little rascal is moving around inside, let's go." Fan Li pulled Qin Wentian along, but Qin Wentian didn't budge. Instead, he walked towards the dormitory and very quickly, he saw a silhouette walking out with his head lowered. Sheena's dainty hands clutched onto her robes, her face flushed red. She lifted her head and sneaked a glance at Qin Wentian, and upon seeing the stunned expression on Qin Wentian's face, her face instantly turned boiling hot. "It's not what you think, I'm only here to see him." Sheena stuttered. "I understand." Qin Wentian looked at Sheena and nodded his head, causing Sheena's face to turn even redder. Stomping her feet, she glared at Fan Li. "It's all your fault." After speaking, she turned and walked away, leaving Qin Wentian staring at Fan Li with a dumbfounded expression on his face. He was still worried about Fatty on the way here, but it seemed like his worries were all for naught. "Fatty, you're really something." Qin Wentian flashed a thumbs up. "Although I know you won't believe me no matter what I say, I still have to say it. I really don't have any other feelings for Sheena." Fatty stared at the shameless expression on Qin Wentian's face as he suddenly put on a serious expression. "Actually, the person I like is you." Qin Wentian's face was filled with black lines. This time around, it was Fatty's turn to laugh shamelessly as he hummed a little tune. Qin Wentian was completely defeated. "Let's go to the glory courtyard to raise the grade of our Emperor's Star Jade medallions." Fan Li lifted his foot as a smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face. After which, the two of them went to the glory courtyard, where the elders directly raised the grade of their Emperor's Star Jade medallions to the 3rd grade. Although that battle had caused great waves of commotion, Qin Wentian and Fan Li had indeed gained the upper hand when they fought against Morong Feng and Du Hao. Naturally, the two of them replaced their opponents in the rankings, becoming the top 3. Hence, they could directly raise the grade of their Emperor's Star Jade medallions. After raising the grade of their medallions, the two of them went to the Heavenly Star Pavilion. A third-grade jade medallion would allow them to enter the third level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion. The Heavenly Star Pavilion was divided into 9 levels, and each level contained many cultivation arts and innate techniques of different grades. Qin Wentian and Fan Lu directly went to the third level. The cultivation arts here were all at the peak of the arterial circulation realm, while the innate techniques were all at the high grade of the mortal realm. The dragon-subduing fist was a high-grade human-grade innate technique. In the hearts of the students of the Emperor Star Academy, there was a question. What was above the 6th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion? Stepping into the 7th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion was the dream of every student in the Emperor Star Academy. It was said that once upon a time, there was a person who had accomplished an astonishing feat, however. That person betrayed the Emperor Star Academy and almost caused the destruction of the Emperor Star Academy. The Emperor Star Academy had never mentioned this part of history. Chapter 64. On the third level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion, ancient bookshelves were neatly arranged within the spacious space. On top of these bookshelves, there were many different types of secret manuals. Top-tier arterial circulation cultivation arts, as well as top-tier mortal innate techniques. These are extremely rare, even in Sky Harmony City. Here, there's an endless supply of them, and you can choose whatever you want to cultivate. Qin Wentian sighed. This was the power of resources. Other than the innate talent of the disciples nurtured by the major powers, it couldn't be separated from the vast amount of resources they had. Qin Wentian didn't choose any cultivation arts, but rather, searched for the innate techniques he wanted. Falling Mountain Palms, Willow Leaves Movement Technique, Imperial Sword Art. Upon seeing the Imperial Sword Art, Qin Wentian's eyes lit up as he called out, "Fatty, come over here." Fan Lu walked over, as Qin Wentian passed the Imperial Sword Art to him. You have the innate talent bestowed by your astral soul, and is extremely suitable for controlling objects. This Imperial Sword Art is a beginner-level innate technique. Are you interested? Let me take a look. Fan Lu received the Imperial Sword Art, as his eyes shone with a bright light. Qin Wentian continued searching. Now that he had cultivated the dragon-subduing fist and the Thousand Hands imprint, his attacks were already extremely tyrannical. Hence, he wasn't really interested in tyrannical innate techniques. 9 Heavenly Garuda Movement Technique. Qin Wentian stopped in front of an innate technique, as an expression of interest appeared on his face. A top-tier mortal innate technique from the 3rd level actually had such a tyrannical name? 9 Heavenly Garuda Movement Technique, Arterial Circulation Manual. As he flipped through the manual, Qin Wentian's attention was instantly drawn to it, as a sharp glint of light flickered in his eyes. So it turned out that this secret manual was only the first volume of the Garuda Movement Technique, the Arterial Circulation Manual. Although it was only the Arterial Circulation Manual, it was already incomparably complex. It required one to devour demonic spirits and extract the essence of the demonic beasts to temper the Garuda imprint. Not only that, the 9 Heavenly Garuda Movement Technique only stated that it was the Arterial Circulation Manual, but it didn't specify how many manuals there were. Qin Wentian took the manual and walked to a study table. There was an old man there, the guardian of the 3rd level. "Senior, does this set of Garuda Movement Technique have a Yuanfu scroll?" Qin Wentian asked as he pointed upwards. The old man glanced at Qin Wentian as he laughed. "I advise you not to cultivate this innate technique. Although there's a Yuanfu manual on it, it's located on the 6th level of the Heavenly Star Pavilion. You don't know how long it would take for you to reach that level. Not only that, this innate technique is extremely difficult to cultivate. Even if you want to reach the grand completion stage of the Arterial Circulation Manual, you'd still have to hunt many bird-type demonic beasts and refine them into the imprint of the Garuda. Moreover, it is very difficult to comprehend this divine ability." Qin Wentian knew that the old man meant well. He smiled and asked, "Are there any better movement techniques on the 3rd floor of the Heavenly Star Pavilion? If I can successfully cultivate the 9 Heavens Garuda skill, the other skills on this level will naturally be incomparable." The old man shook his head. However, it was extremely difficult to cultivate it. "Understood. Thank you, Senior, for dispelling my doubts." Qin Wentian laughed as he continued searching for innate techniques. Initially, he wanted to cultivate an innate technique that was compatible with his great dream's astral soul. However, after searching the entire level, he still couldn't find one. This type of dream-related innate technique was simply too rare, And because he didn't have a compatible innate technique, his great dream's astral soul wasn't able to unleash its full potential. Naturally, even if he didn't have a dream-related innate technique, his great dream's astral soul was still an astral soul from the fifth heavenly layer. The astral energy it emitted was still extremely tyrannical. In the end, Qin Wentian only chose to borrow the Garuda movement technique. As for Fan Le, other than the Imperial Sword technique, he also borrowed another innate technique before leaving the Heavenly Star Pavilion. Just as Qin Wentian and Fan Le were on their way back, they were blocked. The members of the Knights Association blocked their path. Upon seeing the faces of these people, Fan Le's eyes narrowed in an extremely cold manner. These people were none other than the ones who had used a long spear to pierce through his body back then in the City of Illusions. They were all elites of the Knights Association, and even the weakest among them was stronger than Morong Fong. Their countenances were as cold as ice, and several students of the Emperor Star Academy were spectating from afar. That day, Qin Wentian went berserk and killed Morong Fong from the Knights Association. Not only that, he even killed his way into the headquarters of the Knights Association. This caused the reputation of the Knights Association to fall to the ground. Not only that, the Academy didn't even punish him, and directly released Qin Wentian. The members of the Knights Association were naturally infuriated. Not only that, the members of the Knights Association were originally a bunch of geniuses from the aristocratic clans. All along, they were the ones who trampled on others. But today they were trampled on. This was no longer a matter between Orkan and Qin Wentian, but a matter that concerned the dignity of the entire Knights Association. That old fellow from the Emperor Star Academy actually released you just like that. Standing in front of Qin Wentian was a young man with a smile on his face. However, when this smile landed on Qin Wentian, it felt somewhat cold. How impolite of you. Upon hearing the other party directly referring to the old fellow from the Emperor Star Academy, Qin Wentian's lips curled up as a sharp aura radiated from him. "Where's Orkan?" Qin Wentian inquired. "Orkan." The eyes of the young man flickered. The arrogant Orkan, because of the matter regarding Qin Wentian, had been locked up by his clan, and was not allowed to come out until he broke through to the 9th level of arterial circulation. Qin Wentian was the foster son of Qin Chuan of the Qin clan in Sky Harmony City. Back then, it was rumored that he had killed Yi Lang. In their eyes, Qin Wentian was someone who looked down on the descendants of the Wu King. Sometimes they couldn't understand why the current emperor and the Yi clan were so insistent on wiping out the Qin clan. They had heard that the Qin clan was so poor that they didn't even have a few yuan meteor stones. But it was precisely this adopted son of the Qin clan who possessed extraordinary talent. He stood in the Emperor Star Academy and killed Orkan's brother, Orfan, as well as Murong Fong from the Knights Association. What was even funnier was that an ant whom they once thought they could easily squash had actually obtained the favor of the Emperor Star Academy. If they wanted to kill him, they would have to consider the attitude of the Emperor Star Academy. After all, they were very clear that the waters of the Emperor Star Academy were extremely deep. Even the royal clan didn't dare to touch them, and could only do their best to nurture the Royal Academy, hoping that they would be able to contend against the Emperor Star Academy. "Orkan must be thinking about how to kill you right now." The young man spat out, causing Qin Wentian's eyes to narrow. After which, a cold smile appeared on his face. The words of the young man made sense. Wasn't he the same? He wanted Orkan's life as well. "You killed a member of our Knights Association. Make a guess, how will we deal with you?" The young man continued. Qin Wentian and Fan Le stared at the members of the Knights Association in front of them. Their gazes were akin to that of venomous snakes, as they scrutinized their bodies. The eyes of Qin Wentian and Fan Le narrowed as they felt the coldness emanating from the young man. Although they were also thinking about how to kill the young man, their current strength was still inferior to the young man. What a pity, the Emperor Star Academy doesn't allow killing. If not, you would have already died countless times over. The young man took a step forward, and abruptly, a terrifying killing intent gushed towards Qin Wentian and Fan Le. At the same time, the members of the Knights Association also took a step forward, as an incomparably tyrannical pressure bore down on Qin Wentian and Fan Le. Both of them involuntarily retreated, as their countenances turned unsightly. The royal capital is not the Sky Harmony City. You will understand that even if you have some talent, you still have to keep a low profile. If not, you will die very quickly. That pitiful talent of yours will never be of any use. The young man took another step forward, causing the ground to rumble. The pressure he exuded was akin to the sharpness of a spear, piercing into Qin Wentian and Fan Li's bodies. The threat in his words was blatant and undisguised. No matter how talented a person was, if they couldn't mature, what use would they be? Stay your hand. At this moment, a shout drifted over from afar. The members of the Knights Association turned their gazes over, only to see a graceful silhouette walking over. Senior Sister Rain. A gentle smile appeared on the young man's face when he saw who it was. So it turned out that this silhouette was a Yuanfu Realm student of the Emperor Star Academy, as well as a guest elder Rain. Yunaro, as an upperclassman, you actually dare to bully a newbie? Rain unhappily stated. Despite hearing Rain's reprimand, the smile on Yunaro's face was still as gentle as ever. This newbie is an extremely arrogant person. I only wanted him to understand some logic. But since Senior Sister has spoken, then, as the sound of his voice faded, Yunaro's silhouette abruptly moved. Qin Wentian instantly felt a sense of danger, only to see Yunaro's finger piercing towards him, as sharp as a sword. You. Rain's countenance changed when she saw this scene. She wanted to stop it, but it was already too late. Qin Wentian's countenance stiffened, and the energy within his body instantly gushed forth. The revolving sea imprint was incomparably tyrannical, yet Yunaro's finger seemed to be able to penetrate through everything, as it shone with a resplendent light, breaking apart the revolving sea imprint and directly piercing into Qin Wentian's palm. After doing all this, Yunaro's silhouette retreated in a graceful manner, while Qin Wentian also retreated backwards. Lifting his palm, Qin Wentian could see fresh blood flowing out unceasingly from his palm. His countenance involuntarily grew colder and colder. I hope you will be this lucky every time. Yunaro cast a glance at Rain, who was standing beside Qin Wentian, before turning around and departing with his group. Are you all right? Rain turned to Qin Wentian as she asked. I'm fine. Thank you, Senior Sister. Qin Wentian smiled at Rain. Since he had decided to kill Morong Feng back then, he should have known that his future days would not be peaceful. However, he wasn't afraid at all. On the contrary, he was filled with anticipation for these challenges. During these few days, Qin Wentian had already deeply understood a certain principle. Regardless of who was behind him, that person would never be as reliable as himself. Only when one's own strength was sufficient would they be able to control their own destiny. Chapter 65. Rain stared at the departing members of the Knights Association as she continued. Qin Wentian, although the Academy regards you highly, you are still too weak. In the future, it's best if you don't antagonize the members of the Knights Association. If there's any conflict between you and the Knights Association, the Academy won't be able to protect you. Understood. Qin Wentian nodded his head as he stared at the departing silhouettes. The corners of his lips curled up in an arc, exuding a cold sharpness. His current strength was indeed weak, but unless he was never allowed to make a comeback, he would trample them to death, just like how he dealt with Morong Feng. In any case, the barefooted didn't fear those wearing shoes. No matter what, these people wanted to deal with him. He had no reservations. Right now, he only needed to do one thing, and that was to become stronger. Only when he was strong would he no longer be looked down upon by others. Only when he was strong would he not need to be afraid of the slightest thing. Senior Rain. At this moment, Fan Li walked towards Rain, as a radiant smile appeared on his face. What's the matter? Rain smiled. Previously, after listening to Senior Rain's lecture, I gained a deep insight. My strength is still too low, and I have many doubts when cultivating. In the future, can I look for Senior Rain to resolve them? Fan Li's serious expression caused Qin Wentian to be dumbfounded. Sure, if you have any doubts, feel free to ask me. Rain gently smiled. She looked at Qin Wentian and Fan Li as though she was looking at her younger brothers. How could she have guessed that Fan Li would have such wretched thoughts? Many thanks, Senior Sister. Fan Li's heart was filled with joy, yet the smile on his face was as bright as the sun. You guys take care of yourselves. I'll take my leave first. Rain smiled at the two of them as she departed. Qin Wentian noticed that Fan Li was still staring at Rain's back. He couldn't help but smack him on the head. Damn fatty, have you seen enough? Not enough. Fan Li grinned, as that wretched expression appeared on his face. He blinked his eyes at Qin Wentian. Senior Rain is simply a goddess, gentle and kind. I like it. Others are treating you like a little brat. Qin Wentian glanced at Fan Lu with disdain. Are you that big yourself? Fan Lu rolled his eyes, but when he thought of Rain's promise, a shameless smile appeared on his face as he hummed a little tune as he walked towards his residence. Qin Wentian returned to his residence and started cultivating the Garuda movement technique. From the arterial circulation scroll, Qin Wentian could already tell that this innate technique was many times more terrifying compared to the Thousand Hands imprint. Could it be that the arterial circulation scroll was already so terrifying? As for the Yuanfu cultivation scroll, it would definitely be an innate technique at the pinnacle of the Earth grade. Naturally, there was no need for Qin Wentian to worry about the Yuanfu manual. He only needed to focus on cultivating the arterial circulation manual. The arterial circulation manual of the 9 Heavenly Garuda movement technique could be split into 4 levels: elementary, exquisite, perfect, and divine movement. It was easy to enter the gate. There was no need for external conditions. All one had to do was to bitterly cultivate the Garuda's 9 movements of the arterial circulation manual. For the exquisite grade, not only did he need to comprehend it, he also needed to devour the spirits of flying-type demonic beasts, extract their essence, and use the Garuda movement technique to refine it. For the perfect grade and divine movement techniques, one would need to absorb the spirits of large amounts of flying-type demonic beasts. Especially for the divine movement technique. Once one stepped into this level, they would have already successfully condensed the Garuda imprint. With a single leap, they would be able to traverse a distance of 10 meters, akin to a great rock spreading its wings. After stepping into Yuanfu, they would be able to soar through the air. For the following days, Qin Wentian immersed himself in the cultivation of the Garuda movement technique. The difficulty of cultivating the Garuda movement technique was much higher compared to the dragon's subduing fist. Other than that, he naturally wouldn't forget about cultivation. To him, raising his cultivation level was an extremely pressing matter. Of course, Qin Wentian would occasionally attend lectures given by the elders of the academy. Unknowingly, the ancient trees in the Dreamsky forest were no longer as green as they used to be. The scorching heat of the sun shone down upon the Emperor Star Academy, and the cool spring winds were no longer present. The freshmen had already gradually gotten used to the life of a student. Filled with youthful energy, they were filled with boundless hopes and fantasies for the future. Many of them even formed groups and entered the dark forest to undergo the true tempering of death. The training in the City of Illusions had caused them to gradually get used to death, and death no longer seemed as terrifying as before. However, when they truly entered the dark forest and discovered that their companions had died in front of them, they discovered that their hearts weren't as strong as they had imagined. That was a true death, and not a feigned death in the City of Illusions. Although they were students of the Emperor Star Academy, this was a place where the strong preyed on the weak. It was extremely normal for them to die while training in the wilderness. However, it was precisely this kind of tempering that tempered their hearts and temperaments. In front of the dormitory, Qin Wentian leaned against an ancient tree as he lazily gazed into the distance. It had already been over 4 months since he arrived in the royal capital, yet there was no news of Qin Wu or Qin Chuan. Although Qin Wentian had never expressed anything, only he knew how anxious he was in his heart. He wasn't even willing to inquire about the current situation of the army led by Qin He. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to accept the ending. He had stayed in the Qin residence for over 10 years. That place was his home. However, ever since the Yi clan led their troops into the Sky Harmony City, the Qin residence was torn to shreds. Qin Wu and Qin Chuan were imprisoned in some unknown place, while Qin He and Qin Yi were fighting a bloody battle. Qin Yao and Qin Ji were far away from home to cultivate, not daring to return home. Only by relying on his outstanding talent could he live a peaceful life in the Emperor Star Academy. However, every step he took was filled with danger. Qin Wentian knew this in his heart. Yi clan. Qin Wentian inclined his head. The sunlight shone through the gaps of the ancient tree, cascading onto his face. However, his gaze was as cold as the edge of a blade. Just like how the Yi clan and Orkan wouldn't spare him, he similarly wouldn't spare the Yi clan and Orkan. I wonder how Sister Qin Yao and the rest are doing in the Snowcloud country. I hope they can grow stronger quickly. Qin Wentian could see a beautiful and gentle countenance in his mind. Qin Wentian. At this moment, a voice interrupted Qin Wentian's train of thought. Turning his gaze over, he saw a youth of similar age walking over. This youth was none other than Zhao Yi, a new student who lived not far away from him. Zhaoyi, what's up? Qin Wentian smiled as he looked at him. Recently, there have been quite a few people heading to the dark forest to temper themselves. You are the strongest amongst the new students. Don't tell me you don't have any thoughts about going there? Zhaoyi walked towards Qin Wentian. Although Qin Wentian's talent was extremely high, he was easy to get along with. The people around him all had a good relationship with him. The dark forest? A smile flickered on Qin Wentian's face as he stood up and stretched his body. Smiling, he replied, "Yes, I'm preparing to make a trip there." The arterial circulation chapter of the 9 heavenly Garuda movement technique was already at the elementary level. However, if he wanted to advance to the exquisite grade, he would have to hunt and kill flying-type demonic beasts. I also wish to go there to temper myself. How about we go together? Zhaoyi couldn't help but feel joy in his heart upon hearing that Qin Wentian wanted to go as well. His strength had already broken through to the 2nd level of arterial circulation a few days ago, but he was only at the initial level. Although his strength wasn't bad amongst the new students, there was still a gap between him and Qin Wentian. If he could form a group with Qin Wentian, it would be much safer for him. Okay, but you have to be prepared at all times. I'll call you when I set off. Qin Wentian laughed. Zhaoyi naturally agreed happily. That night, Qin Wentian and Fan Lu woke him up and left the Emperor Star Academy together with a snowy puppy. This caused Zhao Yi to be extremely depressed, but he could also guess that Qin Wentian was afraid that the Knights Association would keep an eye on him. By the time Qin Wentian and the rest arrived at the dark forest, it was already the 2nd day. There were still many people roaming around the outer perimeter of the dark forest. The dark forest was the most suitable place for students from the various academies and clans to temper themselves. Naturally, it was also heaven and hell for adventurers. The outer perimeter is filled with low-level demonic beasts. Let's go deeper. Qin Wentian spoke. He cultivated the Garuda movement technique, and demonic beasts below the 4th level were practically useless to him. And if he wanted to hunt demonic beasts of the 4th level or higher, it would be even more troublesome, especially when it came to flying beasts. Hence, it was extremely difficult to cultivate the Garuda movement technique. 3 humans and 1 demonic beast began to dash through the dark forest, as though they were extremely excited. Stop! All of a sudden, Fatty Fan Lu called out. The 3 of them immediately halted their steps, standing at their original location. Because of the astral souls he had condensed, Fan Li's perception was the sharpest. Our luck isn't bad, it's a 4th level flying demonic beast. However, our luck isn't too good either. This 4th level demonic beast is a violet thunder condor, an astral demonic beast. Not only that, it's also eyeing us. Fatty had a bitter expression on his face, causing Zhao Yi's countenance to stiffen. Astral demonic beasts were equivalent to stellar martial cultivators. Not only that, they were the purest type of stellar martial cultivators. They could absorb the energy of the astral constellations in the heavens to grow, and they didn't need to condense an astral soul to directly absorb the energy of the astral constellations they needed. This was the tyrannical innate talent of astral demonic beasts. All astral demonic beasts had the potential to grow, and as they grew, their perception would grow stronger and stronger, allowing them to absorb the energy of the astral constellations in the heavens. For example, this violet thunder condor, when it was young, it would absorb a little bit of astral energy from the astral constellations. As it grew, it would be able to sense constellations that contain the energy of lightning, and from there it would be able to absorb the energy of the astral constellations. If it continued to grow, it would be able to sense constellations that were of a higher grade, and it would be able to step into the 2nd heavenly layer, or even the 3rd heavenly layer. This was the terrifying aspect of astral demonic beasts. The more monstrous an astral demonic beast was, the more tyrannical its innate talent would be. Hence, astral demonic beasts were equivalent to stellar martial cultivators. And now, they had encountered a 4th level violet thunder condor. Zhao Yi was naturally depressed. Chapter 66. A 4th level demonic beast was equivalent to Wu Xiao, who was at the lower 3 levels of the arterial circulation realm. This violet thunder condor was considered one of the more powerful astral beasts. Its strength was comparable to a 3rd level arterial circulation realm cultivator, and in addition to its ability to fly, it was extremely difficult to deal with. Above the void ancient tree, purple lightning flashed, making crackling sounds. The strands of lightning spread down along the ancient tree, and a cracking sound came out. A huge ancient tree directly exploded, and the brilliance of the lightning continued to flow. Qin Wentian and the rest inclined their heads, only to see a gigantic violet thunder condor hovering above their heads. Its baleful eyes flickered with lightning, treating the three of them as its prey. Chi-chi. A bolt of lightning as thick as an arm shot down from the skies, heading straight for the location where Qin Wentian and the rest were standing. The countenances of Qin Wentian and the rest froze. Their bodies were as swift as the wind, instantly retreating in 3 different directions. With a thunderous boom, the place they were standing at earlier was blasted apart, leaving behind a huge crater. The tyrannical force of the explosion blasted against their bodies, bringing with it a piercing pain. "Boss, you attract the attacks." Qin Wentian's attacks were the strongest, and he was able to defend against the lightning attacks of the violet thunder condor. Good sense of brotherhood. Qin Wentian cursed in a low voice. His entire body was covered in dust, and he turned his gaze towards the skies. Abruptly, another bolt of lightning blasted down. Qin Wentian's footwork was extremely exquisite, and in an instant his body was like a willow catkin, drifting through the air. The bolt of lightning blasted directly in front of him, yet it didn't manage to touch him in the slightest. "Foul creature, come at me." This was the first time Qin Wentian executed the Garuda movement technique in a real battle, as he roared at the violet thunder condor in the skies. The violet thunder condor's eyes gleamed with a ferocious light, as it continuously spat out bolts of lightning. "Fuck!" Fatty was extremely loyal as he turned and fled, leaping onto an ancient tree. Qin Wentian executed the Garuda's 9 movements to the extreme, and the lightning bolts that came crashing down only grazed past his body, yet they were unable to hit him. "Evil creature, continue." Qin Wentian roared in an arrogant manner. The purple thunder condor was getting angrier and angrier. While circling in the air, it let out a shrill screech and swooped down towards Qin Wentian like a bolt of lightning. Bolts of lightning struck down in a frenzy, intending to bury Qin Wentian's body within. So fierce. Fan Lu, who was on a nearby ancient tree, observed a moment of silence for Qin Wentian in his heart as he watched this scene unfold before him. The area where Qin Wentian had been buried was filled with dust, yet the violet thunder condor still refused to give up. It continued swooping down, wanting to devour Qin Wentian's flesh and blood. Amidst the dust, Qin Wentian was in an extremely sorry state. However, at this moment, a cold glint of light flashed in his eyes. At this moment, he was extremely calm, and the divine energy in his body frenziedly surged towards his arms. Rumbling sounds rang out as the revolving sea imprint, which was formed from divine energy, erupted forth. The space around him was filled with a terrifying explosion, and at this moment, Fan Li's 9 arrows shot out simultaneously, transforming into streaks of golden lightning. The purple thunder condor soared into the sky, accompanied by a shrill cry. However, the 9 arrows pierced his body with a terrifying force, and the tyrannical force made it impossible for him to fly up. Die! Yet another revolving sea imprint erupted forth, as the violet thunder condor screeched in agony. His wings flapped weakly as his body plummeted downwards, emitting a thunderous sound. The dust gradually dissipated, and Fan Li leaped down from the tree. Upon seeing the dust-covered Qin Wentian, he couldn't help but praise, "Too handsome." Scram. Qin Wentian swallowed a few mouthfuls of saliva, causing dust to enter his mouth. Staring at the violet thunder condor on the ground, he sighed in a depressed manner. Using yourself as bait to hunt demonic beasts is truly not an easy task. Other than using such a method, do you still have the ability to fly? Sadly, that little rascal isn't a flying-type demonic beast. Fan Li glanced at Little Rascal, who was standing beside him. Little Rascal stood up on its hind legs, glaring at Fan Li in an extremely adorable manner. "You are already very powerful. If I were to encounter a demonic beast of that level, I'm afraid I would only die." Zhao Yi walked over, feeling depressed in his heart. The disparity between them was too great. "Seems like I don't even need to temper myself when I'm together with you guys. Don't worry, if we encounter any demonic beasts on the ground, I'll leave them all to you." Qin Wentian laughed. After which, he used his dagger to split open the skull of the purple thunder condor and extracted a demonic core. This palm-sized demonic core emanated a terrifying amount of lightning energy. This was the demonic core of a fourth-grade demonic beast, and to cultivators who cultivated the lightning attribute, it was extremely valuable. The demonic core of the flying-type demonic beast will belong to me, and the two of you will belong to the two of you. How about it? Qin Wentian spoke to Fan Le and Zhao Yi. Fan Le naturally wouldn't compete with Qin Wentian, while Zhao Yi was merely a spectator when facing off against the flying-type demonic beast. He didn't have the qualifications to compete with Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian kept the demonic core and stretched out his palms. An imprint appeared in the center of his palms, emitting a tyrannical suction force that directly imprinted itself onto the body of the Violet Thunder Condor. Strands of white light floated into Qin Wentian's palms, transforming into the shadow of the Violet Thunder Condor. The shadow of the Violet Thunder Condor was absorbed into Qin Wentian's palms before entering Qin Wentian's body. Demonic beasts have spiritual bodies and possess demonic spirits. The cultivation art I cultivate allows me to devour demonic spirits for my cultivation, and with the assistance of the demonic core, it would be even better. Qin Wentian smiled at the two of them. It wasn't an easy task to cultivate the Garuda movement technique. What a waste of this body. If I could bring it back to the outside world, I would be able to sell it for a good price. After the three of them left, Zhao Yi cast a glance at the gigantic body of the Violet Thunder Condor. The entire body of a powerful demonic beast was a treasure. They continued deeper into the dark forest. Whenever they encountered a demonic beast, Qin Wentian and Fan Le would leave it to Zhao Yi to handle. They wouldn't lend a hand unless they were in dire straits. After a month, their entire bodies were covered in dirt. However, their demeanor seemed to have undergone some changes. Their eyes were sharper than before, and their strength had also improved. After much difficulty, they finally found a lake. The three of them were like hungry wolves as they dived into the lake, washing off the dirt on their bodies. After which, they set up a fire by the lakeside to dry their clothes. Bare-chested, Qin Wentian sat beneath a tree, cultivating. In his hands was a demonic core, and he unceasingly absorbed the energy within it. On his back, traces of imprints could be seen, transforming into a magnificent diagram that resembled a pair of wings. At the same time, the essence of the demonic core spread throughout his four limbs and bones. Qin Wentian could clearly feel that his body had become lighter. As he continued to absorb the essence of the demonic beasts, he discovered that the effects of the Garuda movement technique were gradually manifesting. Woo-woo. At this moment, Qin Wentian saw Little Rascal sprinting over from afar, circling around Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian's countenance stiffened as he asked, "You want me to go with you?" Upon hearing that, Little Rascal turned and sped away. Upon seeing this, a strange light flashed in Qin Wentian's eyes as he commanded, "Fatty Zhao Yi, let's move out." After speaking, he draped his clothes over his shoulders and followed after Little Rascal. Fan Le and Zhao Yi had their hearts filled with suspicion, but they still followed after them. Little Rascal's speed got faster and faster. Qin Wentian and the rest started to run, and soon after, they discovered that Little Rascal had brought them to a valley. The terrain here was extremely steep, and there were many rarely seen trees. "There's someone fighting." Qin Wentian and Fan Le exchanged glances. Little Rascal brought them up a slope, and when they arrived at the top, their gazes fell onto the valley below. The pupils of Qin Wentian and the rest involuntarily narrowed. Azure Chilan Python. At the bottom of the slope, there were actually many gigantic python demons. Qin Wentian had once encountered these Azure Chilan pythons in the dark forest. The strength of these Azure Chilan pythons was extremely terrifying, especially one of the gigantic pythons that was coiled around a strange ancient tree. Its head was tilted upwards as it spat out poisonous mist. Many wounds could be seen on its gigantic body. At this moment, there was a group of people fighting against the Azure Chilan pythons. People from the Emperor Star Academy. Zhao Yi's countenance was filled with shock when he saw these people. The majority of these wuxiu's cultivation bases were at the 3rd or 4th level of arterial circulation, and their ages were around 17 to 18 years old. All of them released their astral souls, indicating that they were all stellar martial cultivators. "Are you acquainted with them?" Qin Wentian asked Zhao Yi, who was standing beside him. "That person's name is Logan, a student of the Emperor Star Academy. I've seen him before." Zhao Yi pointed to one of them as he spoke. The aura emitted by that person was at the peak of the 4th level of arterial circulation. "They're fighting over the fruits on that ancient tree." Fan Li's eyes narrowed as he stared at the tree guarded by the largest azure Chilean python. There were several vermilion fruits on the tree, so red that it looked as though they were about to drip blood. Strange flowers and fruits would definitely be guarded by demonic beasts. Seems like the saying is true. What fruit is this? Qin Wentian asked Fan Li, as he unconsciously glanced at Little Rascal. Little Rascal actually knew to bring them here. Blood ember fruit. This kind of fruit has a miraculous effect on Wu Xiao at the arterial circulation realm. It's able to help arterial circulation realm cultivators break through to the next level. Not only that, it can also be used by an alchemist to concoct a blood ember pill, which would have an even stronger effect. Fan Li explained in a low voice, causing a fiery light to flash in Qin Wentian's eyes. At the arterial circulation realm, one had to constantly use astral energy to temper their arterial circulation pathways, stimulating their arterial circulation acupoints, causing their arterial circulation pathways to expand unceasingly, allowing the body to store more astral energy, allowing the circulation of astral energy to become smoother. This blood ember fruit could aid arterial circulation realm cultivators in breaking through to the next level. No wonder these people were so crazy about it. However, Logan and the rest were currently in a disadvantageous position. Blood ember fruit. A fiery light flickered in Qin Wentian's eyes as he stared at the vermilion fruit. Currently, he desperately needed to raise his strength. There were too many things waiting for him to do. Chapter 67. Logan was currently fighting against the azure Chilean python that was guarding the blood ember fruit tree. He similarly saw Qin Wentian and the rest on the hillside and involuntarily shouted, "Brothers from the Emperor Star Academy, please help us out. This azure Chilean python is extremely difficult to deal with." Qin Wentian had caused such a huge commotion in the Emperor Star Academy, and there were many who knew of him. That day when you fought against Morong Fong, Logan had personally witnessed it. He knew that Qin Wentian's combat prowess was extremely tyrannical. Should we act? Zhao Yi was itching to give it a try. At this moment, the situation was very clear. Although the students of the Emperor Star Academy were at a disadvantage, they wouldn't be defeated in a short period of time. Logan was fighting alone against the azure Chilean python, and his chances of victory were extremely slim. Although the azure Chilean python was heavily injured, Logan's body was riddled with wounds as well. If the battle continued on like this, the entire situation would collapse sooner or later. Only Logan would be able to temporarily suppress the azure Chilean python. The most important thing is that azure Chilean python. As long as we deal with it, it would be equivalent to releasing Logan. After that, we can slowly deal with the other azure Chilean pythons. Fan Li stated in a low voice. Qin Wentian's eyes flickered. If they were to help Logan deal with the azure Chilean python, they might not even get a share of the spoils of war. The human heart was hard to fathom, especially when the blood ember fruit was involved. With regards to this point, Qin Wentian had long since experienced it firsthand. "Little rascal, come over here." Qin Wentian spoke in a low voice. An instant later, a phantom rushed into his body. After which, Qin Wentian whispered a few words into Little Rascal's ears. After which, Little Rascal leaped off his body and left. "Zhao Yi." Qin Wentian stared at Zhao Yi. "What's the matter?" Zhao Yi asked. "You should temporarily leave this place. Staying here might be dangerous." Qin Wentian stated, causing Zhao Yi's countenance to stiffen. A treasure like the blood ember fruit was right in front of him, and now that Qin Wentian wanted him to leave, it was hard for him not to have any thoughts. "If you fall out with Logan, we won't be able to take care of you," Qin Wentian explained. However, Zhao Yi's expression was still very stiff and ugly. He didn't say anything and just turned to leave, as if he was very unhappy. Seeing this scene, Qin Wentian silently shook his head. Not everyone was as carefree as Zhao Yi. He and Zhao Yi had already interacted for so many days, and he had thought that they already had a tacit understanding of each other. But now, it seemed that he had been thinking too much. After all, Zhao Yi's strength was weak. Whether it was against the azure scale python or Logan Bo, he didn't have the strength to resist. If he stayed here, it would be very difficult for them to take care of him. For the sake of safety, Qin Wentian allowed him to temporarily leave. However, Zhao Yi's expression instantly changed. Naturally, Qin Wentian didn't bother to explain what he wanted to say to him. They won't be able to hold on much longer. Fan Li spoke in a low voice, drawing Qin Wentian's attention back to the present. He saw that Logan was already fighting against the Azure Kirin Python and was completely suppressed. The students of the Emperor Star Academy were all in a life-threatening situation. "Friend, if we die, you won't be able to defend against these Azure Scale Pythons. If we join forces, we might still have a chance. At that time, we can split the spoils of war together." Logan roared to Qin Wentian and Fan Le. In such a dangerous situation, Qin Wentian's participation would definitely be of great help. Qin Wentian also understood Logan's words. If they died, he and Fan Le wouldn't be able to snatch the blood ember fruits away. "Fatty, leave some trump cards behind." Qin Wentian abruptly dashed out, dashing towards the direction of Logan. At the instant he dashed out, Qin Wentian released his archery astral soul. Resplendent arrows instantly shot out in all directions. Long-range archers were proficient in control. A truly powerful archer could kill enemies 1,000 miles away without leaving a single trace. Although Fan Le's arrows weren't strong enough to deal damage to the Azure Scale Pythons, the angles of his arrows were extremely crafty, aiming for the eyes of the Azure Scale Pythons. In the blink of an eye, he was able to control the flow of the battle, preventing them from being defeated so quickly. Qin Wentian's silhouette had already reached the 5th-level Azure Scale Python. The strength of this Azure Scale Python was comparable to Wu Xiao, who was at the 5th level of arterial circulation. Upon seeing Qin Wentian rushing over, the Azure Scale Python directly spat out a mouthful of poisonous mist. Qin Wentian held his breath, only to see the Azure Scale Python's gigantic tail sweeping towards him. Boom! Qin Wentian stomped on the ground, his silhouette turning illusory as the gigantic tail swept past him. Twisting his body, Qin Wentian continued dashing towards the Azure Scale Python. Boom! A diamond imprint directly slammed into the abdomen of the Azure Scale Python, causing it to howl in rage. Lowering its head, it ferociously lunged towards Qin Wentian. 3 resplendent arrows pierced through the air, piercing towards the eyes of the Azure Scale Python. At the same time, Logan's great axe Astral Soul blossomed with a resplendent light. A divine axe appeared in his hands as he abruptly leapt up, aiming for the vital point of the Azure Scale Python. Qin Wentian's footsteps trembled as he stared at the gigantic mouth of the Azure Scale Python. His body was as light as a swallow, and the Garuda imprint condensed on his back began to float. His entire person transformed into a blur as he retreated towards the abdomen of the Azure Scale Python. Earlier, in that instant, Qin Wentian felt that his movement technique had reached the pinnacle of perfection. He felt an intense sense of control over his movements. This was the level of subtlety. "Die!" Qin Wentian howled in rage. The revolving sea imprint released a terrifying might, directly slamming into the head of the Azure Scale Python. At the same time, Qin Wentian's arrow directly pierced into its eye. Logan leapt onto the back of the Azure Scale Python. With a howl of rage, he chopped downwards with his great axe. A resplendent azure light flashed as the axe forcefully penetrated the vital point of the Azure Scale Python. The gigantic body of the Azure Scale Python trembled violently as it struggled madly. Very quickly, it collapsed onto the ground, completely dead. "Who?" Logan drew in a deep breath as he smiled at Qin Wentian. "Many thanks. Let's kill the other Azure Scale Pythons first." Qin Wentian nodded his head. With the death of the strongest 5th-level Azure Scale Python, the other Azure Scale Pythons were no longer a threat. Qin Wentian, Logan, and Fan Le joined the fray, and very quickly, the remaining Azure Scale Pythons were wiped out. Haha! Logan laughed uproariously as he stared at Qin Wentian. As expected of the #1 student of the Emperor Star Academy. "Qin Wentian, this time around, it's all thanks to you. If not for you, I'm afraid we would have been in deep trouble." "Deep trouble?" Looking at the carefree smile on Logan's face, Qin Wentian's brows twitched, as traces of sharpness could be seen in his eyes. However, the smile on his face didn't fade. The him now was no longer the simple and honest youth he once was. "Qin Wentian, the demonic cores of these Azure Scale Pythons are extremely valuable. I've made the decision to gift them all to you," Logan exclaimed in a heroic manner. However, his words were extremely piercing to the ears of Qin Wentian and Fan Le. Gift them to him? If it weren't for him and Fan Le, not to mention killing these Azure Scale Pythons, even Logan and the rest would have been in mortal danger. Although Qin Wentian didn't claim credit for it, saying that it was all his effort, after all, the two of them had joined forces. However, Logan's words were extremely piercing to the ears. I'm not really interested in these demonic cores. I'll give them to you. Qin Wentian laughed as he replied, his words causing Logan's eyes to narrow as a cold light flickered within. After all, you guys have helped us out a little. If you don't want anything in return, it would be too polite of you. Why don't I give you another blood ember fruit? Logan laughed as he walked towards the direction of the blood ember fruit tree. The people behind him followed suit, completely disregarding Qin Wentian. 7 people, 1 at the 4th level of arterial circulation and 6 at the 3rd level. Seems like things are going to be a little troublesome. Qin Wentian watched as these people walked past him. Slowly, he turned his body as he spoke. Wait a minute. Logan and the rest turned back as they stared at Qin Wentian. Is there anything else? Earlier, we saved your lives. This blood ember fruit should be distributed among us. Qin Wentian indifferently replied. Is that so? A cold glint of light flashed in Logan's eyes as he cast a glance at his surroundings. When his gaze landed on Qin Wentian once again, a cold smile could be seen flickering in his eyes. Since this is the case, we will have to thank you for your life-saving grace. As the sound of his voice faded, the crowd surrounded Qin Wentian. Although Qin Wentian was highly regarded by the Emperor Star Academy, this place was the Dark Forest. The eyes of the Emperor Star Academy wouldn't be able to see so far away. If 2 corpses were to appear here, they would be snatched away by demonic beasts. Nobody would even know how they died. The killing intent in Logan's eyes was no longer concealed. For the sake of the blood ember fruits, several of their comrades had died. Now that there were only 7 of them left, they were already extremely nervous. Logan felt that giving a blood ember fruit to Qin Wentian was already considered polite enough. However, there were some people who refused a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Since this was the case, it would naturally be better if there were fewer people sharing the fruits. That should be the case. As the sound of Qin Wentian's voice faded, he abruptly stepped forward, transforming into a blur of shadows. Earlier, when he dodged the attack of the Azure Kirin Python, his Garuda movement technique had already stepped into the 2nd level of the arterial circulation manual, the exquisite level. Pucci. A crisp sound rang out as Qin Wentian's body came into contact with a cultivator at the 3rd level of arterial circulation. This sudden scene caused the crowd to be stunned. When Qin Wentian retreated back to his original location, the crowd could only see a palm imprint on the chest of the cultivator whom Qin Wentian had come into contact with. That palm imprint had directly destroyed his heart. Cultivation isn't easy, and there are so many blood ember fruits here. Why can't we just divide them properly? Why must things be like this? Qin Wentian released his astral souls as killing intent flashed in his eyes. Chapter 68. Seeing the speed of Qin Wentian, the countenances of Logan and the rest froze. After which, Logan spoke to a skinny and tall youth clad in green robes. You will be the main controller. That person nodded his head as he released one of his astral souls. It was actually a tree-type astral soul, with many vines growing out of it. At the same time, the astral energy in his hands transformed into numerous vines that coiled around his body. This astral soul was evidently a control-type astral soul, and could be used to deal with the extremely fast Wuxiu. The 2 of you go and kill that fatty, Logan commanded. Qin Wentian's status in the Emperor Star Academy was extraordinary. If they wanted to kill Qin Wentian, they had to kill Fan Lu as well. They must not leave any loose ends behind. The 2 of them nodded their heads as they dashed towards Fan Lu. Upon seeing this scene, Fan Lu immediately turned and fled. His cultivation base was at the 2nd level of arterial circulation, and his opponent's cultivation base was higher than his. Since he was proficient in long-range attacks, he naturally wouldn't engage in close-range combat with his opponents. Logan and the other 3 surrounded Qin Wentian, no longer concealing their killing intent. Killing a genius student is nothing more than that. Although he's also at the 4th level of arterial circulation, Murong Feng is still too tender. Logan coldly stated. His great axe astral soul exuded a terrifying sharpness. Do it, Logan commanded. Momentarily, the tree-type astral soul expert's palms trembled as the vines shot towards Qin Wentian. Logan took a huge step forward as an axe light slashed downwards, wanting to cleave Qin Wentian into 2. Qin Wentian's footsteps trembled as his entire person transformed into a blur, evading the axe light and the vines as he floated to the side. Chi! A beam of sword light slashed over. A young man wielding a sword moved with the speed of the wind. At the same time, the fourth person also acted. He punched out with his fist, causing numerous demonic bulls to howl as they lunged towards Qin Wentian. In that short instant, Qin Wentian was surrounded. He executed the Garuda movement technique to the extreme and dodged 3 attacks consecutively. His movements were so graceful that it caused people to sigh in admiration. However, the demonic ox was incomparably ferocious, and the area it covered was extremely large. He could only send out a palm strike, and the explosive power of the Vajra imprint shattered the demonic ox's shadow. That instant of delay was more than enough for the great axe and sharp sword to reach him. A terrifying sense of impending danger gushed forth. At this moment, Qin Wentian was extremely calm. It was as though he could hear every single sound of the wind blowing past him. Just as the divine weapon axe was about to cleave his head apart, Murong Feng's body was akin to a specter as he retreated backwards. The axe slashed past his body, yet the startling wind sword continued to slash through the air, lacerating his skin as drops of blood flowed out. The strength of the encirclement of the 4 of them was far from what Murong Feng could compare to. It was incomparably dangerous. Puchi! A light sound rang out as a sharp sword pierced into Qin Wentian's body. However, at the same instant, a white light flashed from Qin Wentian's palm, as the throat of the sword-wielding youth was pierced through by a dagger. He immediately abandoned his sword and clutched his throat with both hands. However, this was already too late to save his life. Qin Wentian didn't even have the time to watch his death. He directly rushed out from the hole in the wall, his eyes cold to the extreme. The dagger had always been hidden on his body, and the moment he made his move, it was already a sure-kill move. His speed was extremely fast, and Logan and the rest seemed to have forgotten to chase after him. They could only watch as their comrade clutched his throat with both hands, as his body was dyed red with fresh blood. This was already the second person who had died in Qin Wentian's hands. At the start of the battle, Qin Wentian had caught them off guard and instantly killed one of them. This time around, it was yet another sure-kill move. The remaining 3 stared at Qin Wentian, their gazes as cold as venomous snakes. Fresh blood could be seen on Qin Wentian's chest. That earlier sword strike had clearly injured him, and if it weren't for his sure-kill move, his injuries would have been even more severe. Fascinating. At this moment, an unfamiliar voice drifted over. Qin Wentian, Logan, and the rest froze as they turned their gazes in the direction of the voice. Only to see Fan Lu running back in a sorry state, his aura fluctuating unsteadily. Traces of blood could be seen at the corner of his mouth, and the sleeves of his sleeves were torn apart. Evidently, he had already revealed the existence of this divine weapon, but he was still injured. We've been betrayed. Fan Lu spat out a mouthful of blood-colored saliva as he walked towards Qin Wentian. After which, a few more people appeared on the hillside. The 2 who had chased after Fan Lu, as well as 2 others. One of them was a skinny man with a long face and cold eyes, giving off a sinister aura. At this moment, a cold smile could be seen on his face, and the words fascinating earlier were spoken by him. Beside him stood another person, causing Qin Wentian's eyes to widen in surprise. Zhao Yi. Qin Wentian called out. Zhao Yi's gaze shifted in his direction as he unhappily stated, "Don't blame me. You were the one who was heartless first. If you had stayed behind earlier, I'm afraid you would already be a dead man by now." Qin Wentian calmly continued, "I only wanted you to leave first. If we managed to obtain the blood ember fruits, I would naturally share them with you." "Who would have thought? You can say whatever you want now." Zhao Yi coldly stated, "Why are you wasting your breath on this kind of person? We brought him along to temper ourselves in the dark forest, and we even shared half of the demonic cores with him. Look at what happened now." Fan Lu coldly stated. Qin Wentian shook his head. He couldn't be bothered to say anything more. There was no need to explain things to this kind of person. Hee. The person beside Zhao Yi coldly laughed. "Logan, young Lord Luo is in the vicinity. I've already sent someone to inform him. You can do as you see fit." Luo Qianqiu. Logan's countenance stiffened as he cast a cold glance at Zhao Yi. This bastard, he actually brought Luo Qianqiu's lackey Franklin here. Since Luo Qianqiu already knew about the matter of the blood ember fruits, everything was already set in stone. He could only fight for himself. "Franklin, I'm willing to give the blood ember fruits to young Lord Luo. However, many of my brothers died. Can you leave one for each of us? Logan asked. There are only a few blood ember fruits left. Do you want young Lord Luo to leave all of them for you? Franklin pointed to the blood ember fruit tree in the distance. Logan shifted his gaze in that direction, and both his legs trembled. It was as though he had just seen something inconceivable. His countenance instantly turned extremely ugly to behold. Franklin, there's still someone else here. Logan's countenance was unsightly to behold. There were only a few fruits left on the blood ember fruit tree. Evidently, someone had stolen them. But how could this be possible? Although they were fighting, how could they not have sensed that someone had stolen the fruits? How could the thief's movements be so light? I don't care if there's still someone else here. Do you still want these blood ember fruits? Franklin aggressively stated. Logan's countenance turned ugly as he silently cursed in his heart. If it wasn't for the fact that Franklin was Luo Qianqiu's lackey, he wouldn't even care about this bastard. But now his life was more important. He had indeed heard that Luo Qianqiu was also tempering himself in the dark forest. Luo Qianqiu was an existence that he didn't dare to antagonize. I'm willing to give them all to young Master Luo. Logan spoke, causing Franklin to smile in satisfaction. Qin Wentian and Fan Lu had been standing at the side, watching. Upon hearing that Logan was willing to give the blood ember fruits to young Master Luo, their countenances couldn't help but turn somewhat strange. It seems that you should discuss this with me first, Qin Wentian indifferently stated. Instantly, the gazes of Logan and Franklin shifted onto Qin Wentian. Logan silently cursed at this fellow for not knowing the immensity of death, while a smile appeared on Franklin's face. He's also a student of the Emperor Star Academy? Franklin had always followed Luo Qianqiu in tempering himself in the dark forest. It had already been half a year since he returned. He's the top student of the Emperor Star Academy, Qin Wentian. Logan stated to Franklin. I see. Franklin rubbed his chin as he stared at Qin Wentian. Since you're a new student, you should learn to respect your seniors. Are you going to give me these blood ember fruits? Fine, I'll give them all to you. Qin Wentian waved his hands as he glanced at Fan Lu. The two of them then turned and departed. This scene caused Logan to be stunned. Since when did this fellow become so easy to talk to? However, at this moment, a snowy white hound slowly crawled its way to the blood ember fruit tree. In an instant, it leapt up the tree and stretched out its furry paws to pluck a blood ember fruit. After that, it peeked its head out and cast a glance at Logan. Its eyes blinked a few times, as though it was depressed that it had been discovered. So it was done by this beast. A cold glint of light flashed in Logan's eyes. That's Qin Wentian's pet. Zhao Yi's countenance stiffened as he stared at the snowy white hound. Little rascal, eat the remaining fruits yourself. Qin Wentian's voice drifted over from afar. Upon hearing that, Little Rascal directly tossed the blood ember fruit in its paw into its mouth. After which, its body abruptly expanded in size as it dashed towards the other blood ember fruits. In the blink of an eye, more and more blood ember fruits entered its mouth. Quick, stop him. Franklin's countenance abruptly changed as he hurriedly dashed towards the blood ember fruit tree. However, even before they arrived, the fruits on the blood ember fruit tree had already been devoured. Little Rascal transformed into a blur as he dashed down the hill. When Franklin and Logan finally caught up to him, they discovered that Little Rascal was still chewing on a sack in his mouth. Naturally, the contents of the sack were the other blood ember fruits. Vile beast! Bastard! Franklin and Logan roared as they madly chased after Little Rascal. However, Little Rascal's speed was simply too fast. It transformed into a white blur as it dashed into the depths of the forest. From afar, Qin Wentian and Fatty both had radiant smiles on their faces. That Little Rascal should have eaten his fill earlier, right? Chapter 69. 2 hours later, in the same secluded mountain valley, a few silhouettes stood there. The person in the lead seemed to be around 17 years of age. His countenance was calm, yet he gave off the impression of a towering mountain. It was as though as long as he was there, the others would lose their splendor and could only serve as his background. Logan and the rest stood at the foot of the mountain, their expressions extremely reserved. Evidently, they had failed to catch up to Little Rascal. Little Rascal dashed in all directions, and they had no way to catch up. Very quickly, they were shaken off. By the time they returned, Qin Wentian and Fan Lu had already slipped away, only to see Luo Qianqiu and the rest standing there. "Where are the blood ember fruits?" Luo Qianqiu's voice was calm, devoid of any emotions. But with just a casual question, Logan's entire body tensed up as he respectfully replied, "Young Master Luo, Qin Wentian is too cunning. He personally delayed us, but he allowed his demonic beast to steal away the blood ember fruits that I was preparing to present to young Master Luo." Franklin walked to Luo Qianqiu's side and spoke a few words to him. Luo Qianqiu's countenance didn't change in the slightest. Number one amongst the new students, Qin Wentian? He, Luo Qianqiu, had no interest whatsoever. "Go and find him," Luo Qianqiu coldly commanded. Logan felt as though he had just been pardoned from a grave crime. He bowed and replied, "Logan will definitely do his best." As he spoke, he led the group of people behind him in the direction that Qin Wentian had left. "This mountain valley is extremely secretive. Let's go and search for other treasures," Luo Qianqiu commanded. The silhouettes of the people behind him flickered as they dispersed in all directions. It was as though Luo Qianqiu's every word and action was an imperial edict. Very quickly, only Franklin and Zhao Yi remained by Luo Qianqiu's side. Zhao Yi, a new student of the Emperor Star Academy, is willing to follow beside young Master Luo from now on. Zhao Yi bowed to Luo Qianqiu. He was very clear of Luo Qianqiu's status in the Emperor Star Academy. The heavens-chosen Luo Qianqiu, in his first year in the Emperor Star Academy, not only did he obtain first place amongst the new students, he even swept aside all the second-year students. In the second year, he joined the Azura Alliance and became one of the leaders. Luo Qianqiu's talent was exceedingly high, and the cultivation techniques and innate techniques he cultivated were all terrifying. Not only that, it was rumored that he had an extraordinary background, and very few people dared to provoke him. Other than his innate talent, he was also extremely hard-working in his cultivation. Every day, he would engage in a life-and-death battle with a senior from the Azura Alliance in the Dreamsky Forest. Those who were cruel to themselves would undoubtedly be cruel to their enemies. "You betrayed your friends. You don't even qualify to be my dog. Scram." Luo Qianqiu coldly spat out, causing Zhao Yi's countenance to turn pale, his countenance extremely ugly to behold. He had already betrayed Qin Wentian, wanting to obtain a portion of the blood ember fruits from Feng Lin. Yet the blood ember fruits were still snatched away by Qin Wentian. And at this moment, he was being humiliated by Luo Qianqiu. This caused Zhao Yi's face to contort as he silently turned around and left. "Young Master Luo, should we get rid of him?" Feng Lin whispered to Luo Qianqiu. Since this Zhao Yi was able to betray Qin Wentian, he would definitely harbor a grudge against them. "Why not just kill him?" "No need," Luo Qianqiu calmly replied, as he walked towards the hidden ravine. What sort of character was he, Luo Qianqiu? He couldn't even be bothered with a minor character like Zhao Yi. After all, he had his own pride. Qin Wentian and Fan Lu returned to the lakeside. After waiting for a few moments, they saw Little Rascal rushing over with a pouch in its mouth, stopping beside Qin Wentian. "Good fellow." Qin Wentian opened the pouch, and as expected, 10 blood ember fruits could be seen within. He couldn't help but rub Little Rascal's head gently. Little Rascal's body had once again shrunk back to its original size. Wagging its tail, it rubbed its head against Qin Wentian's thigh, as though it was asking for credit. "Little Rascal, the blood ember fruits you ate have already been digested. Aren't you a little too wasteful?" Fan Lu walked over and slapped Little Rascal's head. Little Rascal turned around and squatted on the ground, glaring at Fan Lu. That pair of beady eyes were filled with disdain, causing Fan Lu to roll his eyes. Who would have thought that this fellow could actually hunt for treasures? A smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face as he shared the blood ember fruits with Little Rascal. After which they departed the area. He and Little Rascal had agreed to meet at this location, but Zhao Yi also knew of this location. In order to prevent others from finding their way here, it was better to first find a place to consume the blood ember fruits, and see if there was any chance for him to break through to the 3rd level of arterial circulation. Qin Wentian and Fan Lu had already broken through to the 2nd level of arterial circulation a few days ago, and after experiencing the energy of the dark forest, Fan Li's cultivation base had already broken through to the 3rd level of arterial circulation after consuming 3 blood ember fruits consecutively. This caused Qin Wentian to be speechless. As for Qin Wentian, after consuming the 2 blood ember fruits, he continued to temper himself in the dark forest. Naturally, he didn't forget to cultivate, and finally, after 10 days, he broke through to the third level of arterial circulation. The astral energy in his body flowed more smoothly than before, and it was as though his entire person had undergone another transformation. This feeling of breaking through was extremely wonderful. As for the remaining 3 blood ember fruits, Qin Wentian wasn't in a hurry to consume them. Treasures like these were extremely rare, and if it weren't for Little Rascal leading the way, they would definitely not have been able to find the valley. Not only that, there were many people who came to the dark forest to temper themselves, and they could already be considered extremely lucky to have stumbled upon it. These 3 blood ember fruits should be saved for their next breakthrough. They also weren't in a hurry to leave the dark forest. Now that their strength had improved, Qin Wentian and Fan Lo were even more proficient in hunting and killing 4th-level demonic beasts. Flying beasts belonged to Qin Wentian, while land beasts belonged to Fan Lo. In the blink of an eye, another month passed by. Fallen leaves fluttered about the dark forest, creating a beautiful scene of autumn. Within the dark forest, one could often see 2 muscular silhouettes carrying a snow-white puppy as they dashed about, hunting demonic beasts. The demonic beasts in this area would flee whenever they saw the 2 of them, treating them as devils. Qin Wentian's Garuda movement technique of the 9 heavenly layers was getting more and more proficient, and the Garuda imprint on his back was faintly discernible. Even his entire demeanor seemed to have undergone a slight transformation. Perhaps it was because he had swallowed too many demonic beasts, but Qin Wentian's entire person exuded a sense of demonic handsomeness. His pair of bright eyes were as beautiful as a demon, and even though his entire body was covered in dirt, it was unable to conceal the vitality radiating from his eyes. Both he and Fan Lo had grown taller. "Fatty, your figure is getting better and better." At this moment, Qin Wentian took out a dagger he had picked up and skillfully split open the head of a demonic beast, retrieving the demonic core from within as he smiled at Fatty. During these few days, Fan Li's fat body had indeed lost a lot of weight. "I'm a man who wants to woo my goddess. Of course I have to become more handsome." Fan Lo grinned. "Boss, you still have some blood ember fruits on you that you haven't used yet, right? Do you want to share some with me?" "Scram, you've already eaten your own fruits and you still want to take advantage of me? You must be dreaming." Qin Wentian cast a disdainful glance at Fatty. This Fatty wanted to break through to the 4th level of arterial circulation in a single go, and he had already eaten the remaining 2 blood ember fruits. However, his cultivation base was still stuck at the peak of the 3rd level. "How disloyal," Fan Lo mumbled as he stood up and left. At this moment, a cry for help drifted over. Qin Wentian and Fan Li's silhouettes flickered, and an instant later, they saw a group of people chasing after an extremely disheveled silhouette. "Zhao!" An expression of interest appeared on Fan Li's face as he stared at the person being chased. Zhao halted his steps, and upon seeing Qin Wentian and Fan Lo, a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes as he shouted, "Qin Wentian, Fan Lo, save me, they want to kill me." The group of people rushed forward and surrounded Zhao, only to see one of them glancing at Qin Wentian and Fan Lo as he stated, "Friend, this man took the opportunity to steal the demonic cores we placed at the side while we were fighting against the demonic beasts. It's best if you don't interfere." "They're lying. The demonic cores were stolen by them." Zhao Yi's countenance drastically changed as he stared at Qin Wentian and Fan Lo. This was his only chance. "For a person like you, I'm already being polite if I don't personally slaughter you," Fan Lo coldly stated. Back then, Zhao Yi, who was originally their comrade, had actually brought people to deal with them, placing them in a dangerous situation. Back then, Zhao Yi had no qualms about it at all. Zhao Yi's countenance stiffened as he stared at Qin Wentian. "Qin Wentian, we're comrades, save me." "Sincerity, you can only give it once. Once you miss it, there won't be a second chance." Qin Wentian softly replied as he prepared to depart. "They have blood ember fruits on them." Zhao Yi suddenly pointed at Qin Wentian and Fan Lo as he howled in rage. Yes, and not just one. They snatched over 10 blood ember fruits from a blood ember fruit tree. Qin Wentian and Fan Lo halted their steps. At this moment, Zhao Yi's countenance was contorted in agony as he stared at Qin Wentian and Fan Lo. It was precisely the 2 of them who had caused him to be in such a miserable state. "Haha, how lively." A voice drifted over from afar as a group of silhouettes sprinted over. There were a total of 6 of them, and they were none other than Logan and the rest. "Qin Wentian, you still have so many blood ember fruits with you, right? Logan's eyes flashed with coldness. At the same time, the other group of people stared at Qin Wentian and Fan Lu with greed in their eyes. Qin Wentian suddenly recalled a saying that had circulated around the dark forest. The most dangerous thing wasn't the demonic beasts, but the human heart. This saying was something that Qin Wentian had heard when he was chatting with a group of adventurers. Qin Wentian, Fan Lu, prepared to die. Zhao Yi's face contorted in a malevolent manner. However, in the next instant, Qin Wentian's silhouette transformed into a blur. Zhao Yi's eyes narrowed as he retreated. A stream of blood flashed past, and Zhao Yi's throat was sliced open by the dagger. His hands clutched at his throat, as terror and despair could be seen in his eyes. Staring at Qin Wentian, he knelt down, before slumping to the ground. The terror in his eyes was still there. He had never imagined that his young life would end in such a manner. In his mind, many scenes flashed past. How young he was, how he had entered the Emperor's Star Academy, how high-spirited he was, how he had invited Qin Wentian and Fan Lu to enter the dark forest together. Qin Wentian and Fan Lu had brought him along to hunt demonic beasts, causing his strength to rise unceasingly. That feeling of excitement had filled him with hope for the future. But all of this changed with the appearance of the blood ember fruits. His life had come to an end. Chapter 70. The dagger in Qin Wentian's hand was still dripping with blood. He was extremely calm, and this calmness actually caused Logan to feel a sense of danger. Brandishing his divine axe, Logan released his astral soul. His astral soul seemed to have fused together with the divine weapon in his hands, exuding a tyrannical sharpness. Previously, Qin Wentian had already given him quite a bit of pressure. This time around, it was better to be more careful. The people around him all released their astral souls as they prepared for battle. Fan Lu stealthily increased the distance between them as he activated his archery astral soul. Qin Wentian casually kept the dagger in his hand as he pulled out a pair of gloves. The silvery glove reflected a resplendent light, causing it to be exceptionally dazzling to the eyes. This was a divine weapon that Qin Wentian had forged for himself. Slowly donning the gloves, the young man was still as calm and tranquil as ever. "Be careful," Logan spoke to his companions, while Qin Wentian casually turned around, staring at the group of people who had been chasing after Zhao Yi earlier. He smiled at them, causing their countenances to flicker with a strange light. This devilishly handsome young man was so calm that it caused them to feel a trace of fear. That smile of his was clean and gentle, yet it contained a trace of calmness that didn't match his age. Abruptly, numerous vines extended towards Qin Wentian, wrapping around Qin Wentian's body, before violently pulling him back. When Logan and the others saw this scene, their killing intent erupted. They took a step forward and at the same time, 9 arrows descended from the skies, shooting towards Logan and the others. Logan raised his great axe and abruptly chopped down with an incomparably tyrannical momentum, as though it could split apart a mountain. At the same time, the expert with the ancient tree astral soul pulled Qin Wentian towards him. A cold glint of light flashed in his eyes, as a sharp wooden blade pierced towards Qin Wentian's heart. Qin Wentian's silhouette floated along the vines towards him. His silhouette was like a phantom, and there were hints of blurriness to it. This caused the eyes of the expert to narrow, as the vines around Qin Wentian loosened. Qin Wentian was borrowing the power of the vines to get closer to him. Roar! With a dragon's roar, the dragon's subduing fist blasted out, shattering the wooden blade into pieces. A silver-colored dragon claw flickered in the air, and instantly, the throat of the expert with the ancient tree astral soul was filled with blood. 3rd level of arterial circulation. Logan's expression was ashen. Arrows were madly shooting towards him. He had no time to deal with anything else. After Qin Wentian killed one of them, the other 4 simultaneously launched their attacks. However, Qin Wentian abruptly stomped his foot on the ground, causing the earth to tremble. Boundless divine energy gushed forth from his 3 stellar meridians, gushing forth from his palms. Not only that, this divine energy was amplified by the divine gloves. The attacks of the Qin Wentian's right, as and instantly, with the power, and as he dragon. Qin was the sea, and landed. As said. The rumble. The terrifying revolving sea imprint slammed into their bodies, instantly annihilating the 4 of them. Fan Lu didn't continue shooting, but Logan's heart was pounding. Seeing Qin Wentian rushing towards him, a look of terror flashed past his eyes. Retreat means death. Logan howled in rage as he cleaved out with his great axe, as though he wanted to split the heavens and earth apart, destroying everything. Qin Wentian didn't dodge. Clad in the silver glove, he blasted out another revolving C imprint, causing the great axe to be flung away. After which, Qin Wentian's palms grabbed onto Logan's throat as he continued to rush forward. Kacha! Logan, who was being held by Qin Wentian, was forced to retreat. His body slammed into a huge tree, causing it to split apart. Logan's blood and chi churned wildly as his countenance turned pale. Don't kill me. As the sound of Logan's voice faded, the silver glove slashed across his throat. Instantly, his eyes widened, as only despair could be seen in them. Clutching his throat with both hands, his body slumped to the ground. Who? Those who were chasing after Zhao Yi felt their bodies tense up. The relaxed smiles on their faces vanished, replaced with a heavy expression as they stared warily at the young man who had just turned around. Evidently, they didn't expect that the seemingly calm and peaceful young man would be so tyrannical and ruthless when he acted, showing no mercy at all. Let's go. Qin Wentian smiled at Fan Le before departing the area. Fan Le quickened his pace, and only then did the pursuers heave a sigh of relief. One of the pursuers stared at the back view of Qin Wentian and Fan Le, as an unconcealable ripple of emotion flashed through his eyes. In the future, when we meet with this person, show him some respect. Do not antagonize him. That person spoke, as the others nodded their heads in agreement. They had been adventuring in the dark forest for many years, and were already used to killing. But when they saw how calm that young man was when he killed Zhao Yi, they couldn't help but feel fear in their hearts. If he doesn't die in the future, this young man will definitely become someone great. Another person murmured. Qin Wentian and Fan Le strolled through the forest. Fan Le's gaze was fixed on Qin Wentian, as a strange light flickered in his eyes. What are you looking at? Are you jealous that I'm more handsome than you? Qin Wentian laughed as he stared at Fan Le. Fan Le shook his head. Compared to the first time I met you, you seem to have changed quite a bit. The you back then always had worries in your heart. Although you were ruthless to your enemies, you weren't as calm and decisive as you are now. People are always changing. Qin Wentian laughed. Aren't you the same? You even know how to put on a serious face now. Fan Le clasped his hands behind his head as he tilted his head upwards, a smile appearing on his face. That's right, humans will always change, becoming more and more suitable to live in this world. But one day, will we be able to return to our original selves? In front of my brothers, I will always be the original me, no matter what the future holds. Qin Wentian stared at Fan Le. Although there was dust on his face, in Fan Le's eyes, Qin Wentian's face was exceptionally clean. Especially that radiant smile of his. It caused people to feel a sense of comfort in their hearts. Yes, our brotherhood will never change in this lifetime. Fan Le gazed into the horizons. He could still vaguely remember the scene when they first met. It was very ordinary, there was nothing spectacular about it. However, sometimes, the feelings between men were just so simple, there was no reason for it. Autumn clothes gradually grew thicker, as the colorful fallen leaves formed a beautiful yet desolate path in the forest. Following that ancient path, two youths slowly walked out. They inclined their heads and stared at the ancient town in front of them, as a pure smile could be seen on their faces. Which academy did this brat come from? His luck isn't bad, he managed to walk out alive. A few adventurers at the side grinned at the two of them. Usually, these two youths were students of the academy. Yeah, our luck isn't bad. Qin Wentian laughed as he stared at the burly man who spoke. It's better not to run into the dark forest at such a young age. Handsome brat, I'm afraid you haven't tasted the taste of a woman yet. Do you need elder sister's help? Beside the burly man was a woman with a fiery hot figure. She was clad in a tight-fitting adventurer's attire, causing one to drool with desire. Third sister, aren't you a little too insincere? You wouldn't even spare a little kid. If you need anything, look for me. The burly man laughed, his eyes ferociously staring at the woman's ample bosom. Are you more handsome than him? The woman spoke in disdain. Momentarily, the group of adventurers laughed uproariously as they entered the dark forest. Come back safely. Qin Wentian called out to them, as a form of blessing. The burly man waved his hands. This daddy won't die if I don't devour this demoness. Let's hope they can continue to be so heroic and not scheme against each other. Qin Wentian gave his blessings in his heart as he and Fan Lu walked towards the direction of the royal capital. The first time he stepped into the royal capital, he had already encountered the alliance of the 9 academies. Now, it had already been 7 months since then. Time passes by so quickly. Qin Wentian sighed. The autumn wind carried with it a hint of coldness as it caressed his body. The countenance of the youth, compared to the past, was no longer as tender as before. Instead, it was filled with tenacity and determination, as though he was gradually maturing. On the main road of the royal capital, there was a long queue of people. In the queue, there was a dragon horse carriage pulled by 8 dragon horses. What made people astonished was that these dragon horses actually had wings on their backs. This was a mutated dragon horse, the winged dragon horse. It was an extremely valuable breed that could soar through the air, traversing tens of thousands of miles in a single day. There were actually 8 dragon horses pulling the carriage. One could see that the person in the carriage had an esteemed status. Other than that, there was a large group of guards surrounding the carriage. In front of the carriage, there was an old man who had his eyes closed in meditation. However, the aura he exuded was unfathomable. And behind the group of guards, there was a group of youths, all of them filled with vigor and vitality. Their gazes swept over the surroundings, contemplating the royal capital. On both sides of the main road, there were many people whispering to each other. It's said that the person in the carriage is one of the candidates for the position of the crown princess of Snowcloud. I wonder why she would grace the Chu country with her presence. Those youths are the disciples of the Snowcloud Martial Academy. I heard that this time around, the ones receiving them would be from the Royal Academy. These people are probably here to test out the strength of the Royal Academy. As the crowd discussed, Qin Wentian and Fan Lu were passing by. Upon hearing the discussions of the crowd, they couldn't help but feel curious. The crown princess of Snowcloud actually brought people to the Chu country? From within the carriage, a white palm stretched out, lifting the curtains of the carriage as a pair of beautiful countenances appeared in the eyes of the crowd. It was an extremely beautiful woman, around the age of 18. Her eyes were filled with gentleness, as though there was something weighing on her mind. Qin Wentian's gaze also shifted in that direction. The instant he saw that beautiful face, his body violently trembled as he froze in place. You're tuning in to the Blimay's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.